Hello brother and sister, if you looking more novel you can check out our Patreon link in description and like, subscribe and share light fanfiction audiobook channel for more fun. Chapter 86. Crackle, Crackle. In a dense jungle in Amazon Lily, Ximu hunted a huge wild boar and was roasting it over a fire. He did not leave, but used the skill of rock to suppress the voice in his body. Because when he completed the task and was about to go back, the system gave him another task. The Empress second impression, leave 10 second impressions on the pirate Empress Boa Hancock that are deeper than the first. Moreover, the reward for this mission was so good that it was beyond Ximu's expectations. It turned out to be Logia's thunder fruit. Ximu, while flipping the roasted wild boar, was thinking about how to make a deeper impression on Hancock. Damn it, I inadvertently made this task more difficult. Ximu scratched his head in annoyance. The first 070 impression he left on Hancock was too deep, which made it much more difficult to complete the second impression of the Empress. The wild boar was roasted till it smelled delicious. Ximu ate almost half of it before he felt full. After his physique was improved to the top level, his appetite also increased a lot. After filling his stomach, Ximu had already figured out how to complete the task. There is no other way but to be a bad guy for once. Who made the thunder fruit so fragrant? Ximu has always wanted to find a powerful devil fruit for Tina, and this thunder fruit is just right. The next day, Hancock got up early. She was so angry that she didn't sleep all night. I didn't even have dinner yesterday. At this moment, she felt a little hungry and was about to eat something, but suddenly she heard a familiar male voice coming into the castle. "Boya Hancock, I'm here to see you again." "It's that damned man." Hancock's expression changed drastically, and then her body turned into a shadow and rushed out of the castle. Sure enough, I saw Ximu standing there. Her two sisters and the palace guards had all fainted at the sight. Obviously this guy did it. Let's settle old and new grudges together. How dare you show up again? Hancock shouted angrily, then jumped high. The flexible waist flipped in mid-air, and the beautiful legs hardened by the armed color slashed towards Ximu from top to bottom. Buzz! After Ximu's arm was hardened, he punched out. Clang! Fist and leg collision. Hancock felt a huge force coming, and his whole body was blown away. At least half of her strength comes from her devil fruit ability. But unfortunately it has no effect on Ximu. Although her domineering aura was well cultivated, it was far inferior to Ximu's. Her physical fitness was even worse, so she was easily repelled by Ximu. Hancock turned in the air, then landed on the ground in a somewhat awkward manner, staggered a few steps, and almost fell to the ground. Seeing this, Ximu raised his right hand, gently hooked his index finger, and pretended to show contempt on his face. Being provoked like this, Hancock felt the blood rushing up his body, his chest heaving violently, and he was almost about to explode with anger. How dare this despicable man be so rude to her? Go to hell! Fragrant feet! Hancock kicked Ximu again. Ximu also responded with punches. But what was different from before was that after coming into contact with Hancock's leg, a petrifying force also attacked his arm. However, even the armed color domineering attached to Ximu's arm did not penetrate, and was all blocked outside by the defense. This guy's domineering aura is so strong. Hancock was shocked. The 9 snakes were good at using their domineering power, but she had never seen anyone with such a strong domineering power. Unlike sweet wind, this move fragrant kick will turn the enemy to stone even if they are not attracted to her, even dead objects are no exception. But it still has no effect on Ximu. At this moment, Ximu suddenly flashed and disappeared from the spot, and the next moment, he appeared behind Hancock. Immediately, he kicked out, hitting Hancock's beautiful buttocks. Hancock only felt a strong force coming at her, followed by a sharp pain in her buttocks, and she fell to the ground uncontrollably. Damn man! Hancock quickly got up from the ground, his face full of shame and anger. This BD man actually dared to kick her in this area. And he made her lie on the ground. She must kill this man. Hancock was almost mad. Rushed towards Ximu again. As a result, she was kicked in the hip again and fell to the ground in the same position. Afterwards, the furious Hancock, in his shame and anger, ignored the fact that he could not beat Ximu, and kept attacking Ximu, and then was repeatedly kicked in the hips. In the end, Ximu had counted so many times that she felt sorry for him. She felt that she had left a deep enough impression on Hancock, so she said hurriedly, "Hey, you're all swollen. Why don't we stop here today?" But Hancock ignored her and attacked Ximu with red eyes. Seeing this, Ximu could only strike Hancock on the back of the head with a knife, knocking him unconscious. Ding! The mission, the second impression of the Empress, has been completed, and the Thunder Fruit was obtained. System prompts sounded in my ears. Ximu was overjoyed. Immediately following. Brush! The figure disappeared on the spot. Soon, the guards who were knocked unconscious by Ximu's conquerors woke up first. They were shocked to see that all three Boa sisters were unconscious. Finally, even the previous emperor of Amazon Lily heard the news and rushed to the palace. At this time, Hancock had also woken up, but the anger on her face did not weaken at all, but became even stronger. She must kill that man. A must. Snake Princess, who is the invader? Gyololiosa asked anxiously. Hancock seemed not to hear it, with a cold face, and ignored Gyololiosa. At this time, Sandasonia said, "Granny knew, it was the fire demon Zemo who did it." "What? It's that man." Gyoluo 0.1 Lysa was extremely surprised. He was the man who fought against two monsters, Whitebeard and Kaido, on equal terms. Why is he here? Soon, Gyololiosa analyzed the possibilities based on the information in his mind. The newspaper said that this man had kidnapped Big Mom's daughter and was obviously a lustful man. Could it be that he was attracted by Snake Princess's beauty and wanted to snatch her away as well? But soon, Gyololiosa looked at Hancock, who was still here, and became confused again, thinking that it didn't seem to be the case. After all, Ximu had already knocked Snake G unconscious, so if he wanted to snatch Snake G away, he could just take her away directly. For a moment, Tungliliosa was a little confused. What on earth does this dangerous man want to do? Chapter 87. After returning to the base from Amazon Lily, Ximu contacted Tina using Den Den Mushi and asked her to take leave and come over immediately. Hearing Ximu's anxious words, Tina hurried over with her daughter soon after. "Dad!" Doris saw Ximu and immediately ran towards him. The light and nimble movements did not seem like those of a 1-year-old and 1-month-old child at all. A smile appeared on Ximu's face, and she caught her daughter, who was flying towards her. After talking to her daughter for a while, Ximu let her go. Then he took out the Thunder Fruit, placed it on the coffee table in front of Tina, and said, "This is for you." Tina looked at it and saw a strange golden fruit with raised spikes all over its surface and a lightning-shaped stem. Doris also looked over curiously, reaching out her little hand to gently touch the thorns on the fruit. "Is this a devil fruit?" Tina asked in surprise. "Yes, it's Logia's Thunder Fruit." Ximu nodded and smiled. "What?" 12Tina was shocked. "Logia's devil fruit is precious enough, not to mention the Thunder Fruit. This is an extremely powerful devil fruit." When Tina was in marine school, she had seen the devil fruit encyclopedia. The Thunder Fruit was definitely one of the top devil fruits. Seeing Tina's surprised look, Ximu chuckled and said, "Don't be surprised, it's yours now, eat it." Hearing this, Tina was deeply moved. It is no exaggeration to say that as long as they can get this fruit, most people in the world can do anything for Ximu. Even if it violates personality and ethics. This is a treasure that can make ordinary people ascend to heaven in one step. Tina came to Ximu and threw herself into his arms, her face full of happiness. She is so lucky to meet such a good man. Well, he is just a little fickle. Just when the two of them were being affectionate. Crack! A crisp sound reached the ears of the two people. Looking up, I saw my daughter Doris holding the thunder fruit in both hands. She had already bitten off a thorn on the fruit. The two of them suddenly froze and were petrified on the spot. It tastes so bad. Doris dropped the fruit and turned to look at her parents. Her big eyes were already wet and she looked like she was about to cry. Tina quickly held her daughter and checked on her. Seeing that she seemed fine, she picked up the thunder fruit and asked Ximu nervously, "It's missing a small piece. Should it be okay?" Ximu was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly and shook his head, saying, "I'm afraid the fruit in your hand is useless. The devil fruit only needs one bite to produce its effect. I never expected that the thunder fruit would be eaten by my daughter without my noticing." Sizzle! At this moment, a current suddenly surged out of Doris's hand, completely confirming Ximu's words. The little girl seemed very interested in the electric current. She immediately wiped away the tears in her eyes and began to study it curiously. Tina held the thunder fruit, which was only in shape, in her hand, feeling a little disappointed. After all, as long as she eats this fruit, she would dare to think about it even if it was a marine admiral. But then he thought that his daughter had eaten it and it wasn't wasted, so he didn't mind anymore. "Forget it, I'll find you a powerful fruit later." Ximu also held her hand and comforted her, but she was secretly alert in her heart. He then warned Doris repeatedly, telling her never to eat this unpalatable fruit again. Fortunately, Doris herself is not a devil fruit user, so even if she eats the thunder fruit, it's okay, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. This time he was careless. Unexpectedly, in just a short while, Tuan's 1-year-old daughter actually stole and ate the thunder fruit. He will definitely have more and more children in the future. This kind of thing must never happen again. More than 20 days later. In the training ground, Ziji's face was full of excitement. Finally, his 3 colors of domineering power have all been perfected. At this time, the system seemed to want to give him even more joy and issued a task. Ding! Mission Sin list released, completion reward, skill upgrade card, B, *2, A-level experience card, 100. Evil list, kill the 5 criminals on the list. After the task was released, Ximu also discovered that there were several more pieces of paper in the system space. Brush. Ximu took out the papers, or rather the list. There are 5 in total. Each list is accompanied by a photo, which is very similar to the bounty list issued by the world government. But there is no bounty on it. Instead, it records a person's basic information such as name and address, as well as the bad things they have done. 2 of them are in the Sabayati archipelago, and the remaining 3 are all in the first half of the Grand Route. Considering Ximu's flying speed, the distance is not far. But for this mission, Ximu is not going to use his real body to complete it. Because on the list, there is a person who is Vice Admiral Marine, the base commander of Marine G32 branch. Although Ximu doesn't need to be too wary of Marine nowadays given his strength, if he kills the Lieutenant General openly, Marine will definitely offer a reward for him. By then, even if you are not a pirate, it won't make much difference. Putting aside the fact that he is the president of the Bounty Hunter Guild, he also has to consider Tina and not let her get caught in the middle. As a Marine, she has a man with a huge bounty on his head. She will no longer be able to be a Marine. So Ximu prepared to hide his identity this time. Moreover, he completed the Empress's first impression and obtained 387's mask, which has many variations and should be useful. Sabayati Islands. Tree Area Number 1, Human Auction Site. A beautiful lady is currently being auctioned, and many customers are bidding excitedly. Among them were old men and businessmen as fat as pigs. Seeing this scene, the beautiful woman's eyes revealed deep fear. The host Disco was smiling widely. Boom! Suddenly, the door of the venue was broken open from the outside. Who is it? Disco was furious. This is Shishibukai Don Quixote da Flamingo's territory, who dares to cause trouble here? Everyone's eyes turned towards the door. Then a cat man about 1.8 meters tall, covered with black hair, with a pair of golden eyes, and wearing long boots and leather pants walked in upright. Appears to be a fur tribe member. Who are you? Disco yelled. At the same time, the guards at the venue were surrounding the cat man. However, buzz! An overwhelming aura emanated from the black cat man. Bang bang bang! In an instant, all the guards fainted on the ground. Then, the cat man bent his legs, jumped, and came to the auction table, looking at the host Disco with a cold look. Chapter 88. What do you want to do? Who are you? This is Shishabukai's territory. Seeing that the cat man was so powerful, Disco said in a timid tone. He wanted to use the name of Shishibukai to intimidate the other party. Whoosh! The cat man's body flickered. When he appeared again, Disco was already being strangled by his neck and lifted up in the air with one hand. I am Lord Doflamingo's man. Hurry, let me go. Disco said with difficulty, his face full of horror. The cat man ignored him, his eyes remained cold, and his fingers exerted force. With a click, Disco's larynx was crushed. His body twitched and then he died. Ah! Murder! The customers in the auction hall finally came to their senses at this time and shouted in fear. In an instant, the scene was in chaos. People were crowding and stepping on each other, and everyone was trying to run outside. The beautiful woman who was being auctioned also looked at the cat man with fear, but she heard the cat man say in a pleasant and magnetic voice, "Why don't you run away quickly? You're going to let me go." The beautiful woman was stunned, her fear subsided a little, and she said with surprise, "Well, I came here just to kill him. This guy has done so many bad things that he deserves to die." The cat man pointed at the Disco on the ground and took out a small golden dagger and a list from his body. "Call out." The cat man moved his wrist, and the list was pierced by the dagger and nailed to Disco's body. At this time, seeing the cat man turning around and leaving, it seemed that he was not a bad person. The beauty asked anxiously, "Sir, may I know your name?" The cat man kept walking, and suddenly a sense of evil interest arose in his heart. He said without turning his head, "My name is Sandy, you can also call me Black Cat Man Sandy." 10 heroes who are motivated by interest 1. The next moment, the Catman Sandy disappeared without a trace. The beauty stood there, her eyes moist, and murmured, "Thank you, Lord Black Cat Man Sandy, I will always remember your kindness." Then she quickly found the key, unlocked the explosive collar, and ran to the back of the venue where the slaves were kept. Since the guards at the venue were all stunned by the Catman Sandy's conquerors, she easily released those imprisoned in the cages. Moreover, he told all the slaves the name of their great benefactor, Shandy. Not long after, in the number 5 tree area of the Sabayati archipelago, a group of human traffickers were also killed by the Catman Sandy. Therefore, the name of Black Cat Man Sandy soon spread throughout the Sabayati archipelago. Next, in the 2 kingdoms in the first half of the Grand Line, a murder case involving Black Cat Man Sandy occurred respectively. Although it also caused repercussions, the news was only spread in a small local area. It was not until the base chief of Marine G32, Marine Vice Admiral Kelson, was killed by Black Cat Man Sandy that the latter became completely famous. Not only was it published in many newspapers, but Marine also offered a reward of 400 million berries for it. New World, Dressrosa Kingdom. In the rebuilt palace, Doflamingo also learned that the auction house in the Sabayati archipelago was disrupted. Originally this was just a small matter. In the past, he would not have cared about it at all and would have let his subordinates handle it. But he was very interested in the troublesome black cat man Sandy. A fur tribe is so powerful that it can kill a marine headquarters. The key is that this courage is not something that ordinary people can possess. Such a person was previously unknown. Doflamingo guessed that this Sandy must have just gone out to sea not long ago. Marine headquarters, Malin Banta. Jean Guo was in a bad mood. After Kelson was killed by Sandy, Marine investigated the list left on his body and found that everything mentioned on it was true. If the Marine military court tried Kelson, the crimes he committed would be enough to get him shot 3 times. A high-level scoundrel, the Marine himself did not discover it, but was killed by someone else, and the group was exposed for having S***X. Fortunately, the incident was dealt with in time and did not spread out, otherwise Marine's reputation would have been ruined. After completing the Sin List mission, Ximu used the A-level experience card on swimming, raising this skill to a perfect level. As for the 2 skill advancement cards, B, keep them for now. After you upgrade Flying Stone, C, and Rock, C, to perfection, you can use them to upgrade. Yes, Black Cat Man Sandy is the vest created by Ximu using the ever-changing method. Brush. Ximu took out the ever-changing mask from the system space and lamented the practicality of this mask. The entire mask was as thin as a cicada's wing and silver in color, like flowing mercury. As long as he wears it on his face, it will merge into his body, and with a thought, it can change into any appearance. And it's not an illusion, the body has really changed. No wonder it can block the detection of devil fruit abilities. Ximu picked up a bounty notice beside him, which was exactly his transformed painting. Humph! Ximu sneered. Marine only told the public that Sandy killed Vice Admiral Marine and issued a reward, but did not mention a word about the crime committed by Kelson. Even though it was just a sock puppet, Ximu didn't want his reputation to be tarnished in vain. He has instructed Sarah to spread all the bad deeds done by the 5 people, including Kelson, in order to clear the name of Black Cat Man. Ximu had printed out a few extra copies of the 5 lists of crimes in advance, and they came in handy now. The list he nailed to the corpse was printed out and given by the system, and it is still in his hands. After receiving Ximu's instructions, Sarah immediately passed the news secretly to the World Economic Daily. News still spreads fastest through journalism. But even if ordinary newspapers got this news, they would never dare to publish it. Probably only the World Economic News dared to publish it. Morgan's courage has always been well known in the industry. As expected, Black Cat Man Sandy and sinful Lieutenant General Kelson appeared on the cover of the World Economic Daily. The actions of the 2 parties formed a sharp contrast, directly tearing off Marine's fig leaf. For a time, Black Cat became famous and Marine lost all his reputation. Jean Guo was so angry that he smashed the desk into pieces. On this day, Ximu was practicing swimming. Sarah came to the swimming pool in a panic and said anxiously, "President, it's bad, Perona has been captured by the celestial dragons." "What did you say?" Hearing this, Ximu immediately jumped out of the swimming pool with a serious look on his face. Then Sarah narrated the whole story. After listening to this, Ximu sighed softly, because he also had to take some responsibility for this matter. After dating Perona a few times, Ximu found that she was quite well behaved, so he gave her a certain amount of freedom. "If you feel bored, you can go to the Sabayati Islands to relax." Who knew that when Perona went to the Sabayati archipelago this time, she would actually meet a celestial dragon? Perona, who grew up in a thriller bark, can be said to be ignorant of the world. Although she has heard of the celestial dragons, she does not have any fear of them. Therefore, he did not kneel down with the crowd and was seen by the celestial dragon. The celestial dragon was furious, but he found that Perona was very beautiful, so he wanted to capture her and make her a slave. Although Perona's ability is strange, her strength is very ordinary after all. Facing a real master, it is useless and she is caught by the celestial dragon guards in a few moves. When Sarah received the news, Perona had already been taken on board the celestial dragon's ship, which was now heading towards the Holy Land. Chapter 89. Ding! Mission God's Natural Enemy released, completion reward, skill advancement card, S. God's natural enemy, the host who is unwilling to be inferior to others is destined to become the enemy of the celestial dragons. Kill the celestial dragon Topman Aldington who captured Perona and save Perona. Ximu listened to the prompt tone, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Even if there is no system mission, he is ready to save Perona. No matter what, Perona is his subordinate. How could Ximu let her serve as a slave to the celestial dragons? Now that there are quests and the rewards are S-level skill advancement cards, there is even more reason to go. Let Sarah give Perona's life card to herself, and golden flame wings burst out from behind Ximu, and in a flutter, it turned into an afterimage and flew away from the flame demon's three-masted sailing ship. After flying at high speed for about dozens of nautical miles in the direction of the life card, Ximu suddenly stopped. As far as the eye can see, there is only empty sea, without a single ship or island. There wasn't even a seabird in the sky. After using his observation haki to sense and investigate, Ximu took out a small sloop from his space ring. This is the special car of Black Cat Man Sandy. In order to completely separate this vest from himself, when transforming into Sandy, Ximu never used the power of the flame fruit, nor did he use the dragon slashing sword technique. What Black Cat Man Sandy showed to the outside world was just a strong physical warrior who was proficient in three-color domineering. This ship that Sandy is riding was originally just an ordinary sailboat, but after being transformed with a flying device, it has now become a spaceship that can sail in the air. So even though the ship is small, it is full of high-tech crystals. The flying device, sailboat component, obtained by completing the third-party mission is just a pair of ordinary white wings, just like 10 pendants. But as long as you put it on any sailboat, you can transform the sailboat into a spaceship. Moreover, the flying device is not only fixed to one ship, but can be taken down at any time and placed on other ships, which can also turn it into a spacecraft. But if you remove the flying device of the sailboat, it will return to its original state and lose its flying function. Ximu puts on the 1000 changes and transforms into the appearance of Sandy, then rides on the spaceship. After the ship's flight function was activated, a layer of transparent light cover enveloped the entire ship. This was a windbreak that could protect the ship from strong winds when it was flying. Phew! Behind the spacecraft, 3 blue flames spurted violently. In order to catch up with the celestial dragon's ship as quickly as possible, Ximu turned the ship's flight power to maximum. Whoosh! The small spaceship suddenly shuttled through the air. Compared with ordinary sailboats, the sailing speed is many times faster. Not long after, a large sailing ship flying the world government flag appeared in Ximu's sight. And Perona's life card was slowly moving towards the direction of the ship. Caught up! Ximu was delighted. He immediately took control of the spacecraft and arrived above the world government's ship. At this time, on the deck of the world government ship, there stood a blonde middle-aged man with a glass cover on his head, accompanied by several guards in black suits. Seeing Ximu driving the spaceship, one of the guards immediately shouted with a vigilant look, "Who are you? How dare you park the ship above St. Aldington's head? Be careful, this guy is a wanted criminal, and the Marine has offered a bounty of 400 million berries on him," another guard shouted, obviously recognizing the Sandy transformed by Ximu. In fact, Sandy's features are indeed very obvious. After all, he has the appearance of a fur tribe. Strong members of the fur tribe are still very rare on the sea. Ximu jumped lightly from the spaceship to the Tianlong people's ship. "You pariah from the fur tribe, who allowed you to board my ship? Kill him now!" St. Aldington said with disgust, feeling that his ship had been soiled. Then he looked at Ximu's spaceship with a hint of interest in his eyes. This ship is quite interesting. Ximu glanced at the Tianlong man with cold eyes. Immediately. Call out. He instantly appeared in front of the celestial dragon. Then, punch out. Bang. The glass cover shattered directly. Along with it, there was also the entire head of the celestial dragon. Blood foam flying. Sprinkle it all over the deck. The whole process was so fast that the guards didn't even have time to react. Bang! The headless body of Saint Oldington fell to the ground, and the blood in his body spurted out. Seeing this scene, the guards all looked stunned with their eyes wide open. They didn't even notice Ximu walking into the cabin. All I could think of was that if the Tianlong people died, they would be finished, and the whole family would be finished. What awaits them will be the most cruel punishment. Ximu walked into the cabin. At first glance, I saw Perona wearing sea stone handcuffs and an explosive collar around her neck. At this moment, the girl was in tears and huddled in a corner weakly. Ximushu had never seen her look so pitiful. There were two female slaves not far away, both with explosive collars around their necks, tied with a rope like dogs. But they still had strange smiles on their faces, as if they were enjoying this state. Perona was very scared. She was afraid that she would become like these two people in the future. Living like this is worse than dying. At this time, Ximu's footsteps also alarmed the three people. The two female slaves thought it was Saint Oldington who came in, and they immediately lowered their heads and stuck out their buttocks with ingratiating smiles on their faces. The two men's movements, postures, and expressions were all exactly the same, and it was obvious that they had received special training in this area. When Perona saw a catman covered with black hair walking in, she immediately stopped sobbing and showed her little fangs to the latter with a ferocious look. She thought Ximu was also a subordinate of the Tianlong people. Ximu walked to Perona's side, squatted down, and said in that magnetic voice, "Don't be afraid, I'm here to save you." Looking at the collar on Perona's neck, he did not follow Rayleigh's example and destroy it directly with domineering power. Rayleigh had obviously studied the collar and was familiar with its structure, but Ximu had no idea about it at all. If it accidentally exploded, it would harm Perona instead. After hearing Ximu's words, Perona was a little stunned and said, "Are you here to save me?" "Well, do you know where the keys to the handcuffs and collar are?" Ximu asked. "On one of the guards." Perona said quickly, her heart filled with surprise. She thought she was doomed this time, but who knew someone would come to save her. Although the Sandy transformed by Ximu was as black as coal, but in Perona's view at this moment, his whole body was emitting pure white holy light. Chapter 90. Ximu just walked out of the cabin and was about to get the key when he saw a guard yelling at him, "You guy, do you know what you did? They actually killed the celestial dragons. They killed the descendants of the Creator, the masters of the world. Do you know what the consequences of this will be?" Looking at the guard who was pale and seemed to be on the verge of collapse, Ximu said calmly, "No matter what the consequences are, you won't be able to see them anyway. There is no need to be afraid." The next moment, bang! The guard's head was also smashed by Ximu's punch. Soon his figure flashed on the deck continuously, and every time he appeared, a guard was killed. In a short while, all the guards, without exception, turned into headless corpses. After finding the key from a guard, Ximu came to Perona again and waved the key in front of Perona's expectant eyes. Perona's eyes suddenly lit up. Ximu smiled gently, then opened all the handcuffs and collar on her. After escaping, Perona said with gratitude, "Thank you for saving me. If you have anything to say, let's leave here first." Ximu said with a smile. Can we take them both with us?" Perona suddenly pointed at the two female slaves. At this moment, seeing Perona being rescued, the expressions of the two female slaves finally changed slightly. Ximu saw a hint of expectation in their eyes. This also shows that the two can still be saved and their natures have not been completely wiped out. Otherwise, there would be no difference between them and puppets. Okay. Ximu agreed. Hearing this, smiles appeared on the faces of the two female slaves. It was completely different from the fake smile they had deliberately shown before. But after all, he had been tortured by the celestial dragons for a long time, and his mental state was obviously abnormal. It would probably take a long time for him to recover to a normal state. Perona used the key to unlock the explosive collars of the two slaves one after another. When they came out of the cabin, the two female slaves were frightened by the bloody scene outside, especially when they saw the body of Saint Oldington. They trembled all over. But at the same time as I was afraid, I also felt an inexplicable sense of pleasure in my heart. Perona ran directly to Saint Aldington's body and kicked it a few times to vent her anger. Click! Ximu took a wooden stick from the deck and left a line of words on it with blood. The murderer is Black Cat Man Sandy. If the world government wants revenge, go find Sandy. The headquarters of the Flame Demon Guild is too close to here. If the celestial dragons were killed, Ximu must be a suspect. So he simply revealed Sandy's name as a target to attract the world government's firepower. However, Perona might need to hide in the future. After all, many people in the Sabayati archipelago saw her being taken away by the celestial dragons. If the world government cannot find Sandy, it will definitely take action against Perona. Fortunately, the fact that Perona was a member of the Flame Demon Guild was kept secret. Even if the world government investigated, they would probably only be able to find out that she was once Moria's subordinate. Perona looked at the words on the ground and thought to herself, so his name is Sandy. Ximu took out his camera again, took a few photos at the scene, then took the three women onto the spacecraft and quickly left the scene. Not long after Ximu killed the Tianlong, the identity chip implanted in the latter's body also sent out a signal of losing life characteristics and transmitted it to the Holy Land, which immediately caused an uproar in Mary-Joya. The five elders urgently dispatched Admiral Kizaru to investigate. But when Kizaru arrived, he only saw the corpses on the ship and the words left on the deck. What a brave guy! Kizaru was shocked and couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He killed the celestial dragons and dared to leave his name behind. It really makes people have to be convinced. This is the truest feeling in Kizaru's heart at the moment. After all, it's hard to find a few people in the world who dare to do such a thing. Ding! Mission God's natural enemy has been completed and you have obtained Energy Reporting Advanced Card, S. Ximu was controlling the spacecraft when a system prompt sounded in his ears. On the side, Perona secretly looked at Ximu. Although she was surprised that the boat could fly in the sky, she was more interested in the cat man in front of her. She said, "Thank you for saving me. My name is Perona, is your name Sandy?" "Yes, my name is Shanyu," Ximu said with a smile. Afterwards, the two talked for a while, and during the conversation, the spacecraft soon arrived at the Sabayati Islands. Ximu put the three people down and prepared to sail away. Seeing this, Perona suddenly felt very reluctant and couldn't help asking, "Will I never see you again in the future?" Asterisk. I'm a hero motivated by interest. Wherever there are people in distress, I'll be there. As for whether we'll meet again, that depends on fate. Ximu said with a bright smile, trying his best to maintain the persona of Sandy, the Black Cat Man. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the spaceship carried him towards the horizon. Perona stared at the direction where the spaceship disappeared, her pretty face slightly red, and her heart couldn't help but beat faster. At this moment, she just felt that this cat man was so handsome. Ximu found an uninhabited place on the sea, put away the spaceship, and cancelled the transformation. Just as he was about to return to the base, the system prompt sounded again. Ding! Mission Rebellion 2 completed, obtain Skill Advancement Card, B. 0. Hey? How come Counter Rebellion 2 is also completed? Ximu was surprised. Although she often pretended to be close to Perona when dating her, Ximu knew that she had no feelings for her at all. At least that's the case so far. But why was the mission suddenly completed? Ximu's face was full of doubts. Not long after, Perona, who had contacted Sarah, was brought back to the base, along with the 2 female slaves. They had nowhere to go but to follow Perona. Ximu pretended not to know the whole process and asked Perona how she escaped. Upon hearing this question, Perona immediately described with admiration how she was saved by the black cat man Sandy, and mentioned many times how handsome Sandy was. She looked as if she couldn't wait to give herself to me. Looking at Perona's blushing face, Ximu had a strange expression. He finally figured out how the mission of Rebellion 2 was accomplished. It seems that this girl has fallen in love with Sandy. And Sandy is what he turned into, so it's like he fell in love with himself, so Rebellion 2 is naturally completed. Thinking of this, Ximu couldn't help but be surprised that he could actually complete the task in such a roundabout way. Fit. Ximu looked at Perona with a strange expression. This girl's taste is quite different from that of ordinary people. Although the Sandy he transformed into was indeed very handsome, he was a furry creature. Would a normal woman like a cat person with black hair all over his body? Chapter 91. Afterwards, Ximu told Perona that she must hide her identity when going out in the future, and it is best to go out less and stay in the base as much as possible. Especially in the last few months, you absolutely cannot go out. Perona also understood that this incident was a big deal. After all the celestial dragons were dead, so although she was very unwilling, she could only nod and agree. She had originally thought that if she went out more often in the future, she might encounter mountain oil. As for the 2 female slaves, they were handed over to Sarah. Sarah expressed great interest in these 2 people. With such tragic and special experiences, they would definitely become excellent intelligence personnel after training. After Perona and the 2 female slaves left, Ximu deliberately kept Sarah, and then placed a few photos in front of her, saying, "Give this to the World Economic newspaper. Remember to ask them for the information fee this time. Don't let them get it for free." Sarah was shocked when she saw the contents of the photo. The 490 was actually the death scene of the celestial dragons. But how did the president have these photos? In addition to being shocked, her thoughts quickly turned, and she remembered that not long after she reported to the president that Perona was captured by the celestial dragons, the black cat man Sandy appeared and rescued Perona. Sarah doesn't believe in such coincidences. Therefore, the president should know Sandy. It was the president who notified Sandy to rescue people. Although she had these thoughts in her mind, Sarah knew the seriousness of the matter and must not let it out, so she did not say it out loud. Moreover, the president gave her the photo, which proved that he completely trusted her. Sarah felt sweet in her heart and said quickly, "Okay, President." Sarah followed Ximu's instructions and secretly handed the photos to the World Economic Daily. Not to mention how ecstatic Morgans was after getting these photos. Anyway, the status of Black Cat Man Sandy in his mind suddenly became second only to Ximu, and both were good partners who could provide him with big news. A few hours later, the special edition was delivered by the newsbirds, scattering all over the great route like snowflakes. The vast majority of people saw this news, and countless people were so shocked that their jaws almost dislocated. That's a world noble celestial dragon. It's God. Now, someone has even hit him on the head. Also leave your name and take a photo. Black Cat Man Sandy, this furry man is so brave. There are such people in the world. New World, Dressrosa Kingdom. Phew 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 phew. Interesting, so interesting. Doflamingo laughed out loud. Today was definitely the happiest day of his life. He originally thought that Shandy was bold enough to kill Vice Admiral Marine, but now he even dared to kill the celestial dragons. Is there anything else this guy wouldn't dare to do? What kind of reckless man is this? Doesn't he consider the consequences of his actions? For the first time, Doflamingo admired someone. I just hope Shandy can kill a few more celestial dragons. Calm Belt, Amazon Lily. Although Gyololiosa was very old, she was still very agile. She ran into the palace and shouted, "Snake Queen! Didn't I tell you not to come in without my summons?" Seeing this, Hancock frowned and said proudly. After being humiliated by Ximu, she was angry for a long time. It was only in the last few days that she calmed down and returned to her original state. When Gyololiosa heard what Hancock said, she was not angry, but relieved. She immediately raised the newspaper in her hand and said, "Snake Princess, look, something big happened outside. A man from the fur tribe killed a celestial dragon." What? The arrogance on Hancock's face disappeared in an instant. Her face became serious and she quickly took the newspaper and started reading. Then, her delicate body began to tremble. Because she saw a very familiar name in the newspaper, Top Aldington. This Tianlong was her master when she was a slave in Marijoya. After a long time, when Hancock put down the newspaper, Gyololiosa saw that she was in tears. Snake Princess. Gyololiosa felt a pain in her heart, but she said nothing and just looked at Hancock lovingly. There's no point saying anything now, it would be better to let her release her feelings. How could there be such a fool in this world? He dares to challenge the heavens. Hancock sobbed, holding back her tears. But I found that I couldn't wipe it clean, and tears kept oozing out. Her eyes seemed to be broken and were completely out of her control. After a long time, she stopped crying and looked deeply at the photo of Black Cat Man Sandy. She wanted to engrave this man in her heart just like her former benefactor Fisher Tiger. Unfortunately, Fisher Tiger is dead. Now, her only benefactor in this world is the Black Cat Man Sandy. Sure enough, it's only human men who are despicable, especially that fire demon Ximu. Hancock snorted coldly. Fisher Tiger of the Fishman tribe and Sandy of the Fur tribe, although they are also men, in her heart, these two are real heroes. Although killing the celestial dragons was a shocking act, most people just watched for fun and marveled at the courage of Black Cat Man Sandy. But those people who were persecuted by the celestial dragons simply regarded Shandy as a true god. In just a few days, many places have hung up enlarged photos of Sandy and worshipped them every day. This alias has been thoroughly managed by Ximu, and its fame is no less than that of the original one. But the murder of Saint Aldington made the world government very angry. Not only did he order the Marines and CP to search for Shandy, he also raised his bounty to 2 billion berries. Marine Headquarters, Malin Banta. Fleet Admiral Office. Jean Guo covered his forehead, feeling waves of pain. This suddenly appeared Black Cat Man Sandy, first made their marine lose face, and now he dares to kill even the celestial dragons. This is simply a lawless person who does things without any scruples. Therefore, even without the urging of the 5 elders and the celestial dragons in the land of the gods, Jean Guo would never let Shandy go. Otherwise, who knows what this guy will do next time. But the marines from all over the world haven't found any trace of Sandy yet, and Jean Guo is worried about it. And this is not the only thing that is troubling. 4.7. Jean Guo picked up a document, read it again, and then sighed softly. This document contains information that former Marine Admiral Black Arm Zephyr has established an organization in New World called Ned Marine. Sengoku understood that Zifa was obviously completely disappointed with Marine, so he created this organization and gave it such a name. But regarding this matter, the 5 elders have already issued an order to Jean Guo, asking him to get rid of this Neo-Marine as soon as possible and restore the Marine's reputation. And you must catch Zifa. If you can't catch him, then kill him. To be honest, Jean Guo was very angry about the order to kill Zifa and didn't want to carry it out. But this is just his personal feeling and cannot affect the outcome. Letting another organization go by the name of New Marine would be something that not only the 5 elders would disagree with, but even the Marine would disagree. Chapter 92. Balrog Bark. Ximu is practicing swimming in the swimming pool. He planned to use the S-level skill advancement card on his swimming skill. So I am currently focusing on the swimming skill, hoping to improve this skill to perfection as soon as possible. It took Ximu more than a month to master swimming, and then he immediately used the skill upgrade card, S, to upgrade it to an S-level skill. The effect of swimming, S, surprised Ximu, because he could float in the water. Not only can it swim, it is also extremely flexible. When I was in the water, I even felt like I was back home. And you can stay in the water as long as you want. You have mastered a special underwater breathing method. Even if you don't breathe, you won't feel any breath holding. He finally relied on his swimming skills to completely overcome the curse of the sea on the Devil Fruit ability users. President, Minister Akin, and Minister CLO are here. Khalifa suddenly came over to report. Although she was already together with Ximu, she still addressed Ximu as she was working during the day, and performed her duties as a secretary. Of course, sometimes I also perform it at night. Finally, Ximu's eyes lit up and she smiled, "Tell them to come see me right away." He sent a message to the Donghai base, and then Ajin and CLO were mobilized. Because next, he is going to enter the new world. With his current strength, he is able to handle any situation he might encounter in that sea area. Before recruiting the two, Ximu also communicated with Ajin in advance to confirm that the station in the East Daxia Sea could still operate even without them. So Ximu called them both over. Now the bounty department at the East Daxia Sea base has been handed over to Baron, and the intelligence department and mercenary department also have their own persons in charge. Hearing this, Khalifa turned and left, but came back after a while, followed by Ajin and Kalu. After not seeing each other for such a long time, both of them have changed a lot. They look more mature and have the aura of a superior. President. Seeing Ximu, Ajin, and CLO were both excited and salty. Especially Ajin, his eyes were a little moist. Ximu walked over, patted them on the shoulders, and said with a smile, "It's good that you're here. We will continue to fight side by side in the future." Yes. The two nodded vigorously. How is the development of the speed fruit going? Ximu asked CLO. At present, I can only use it proficiently at 20 times the speed. Klo said a little embarrassedly. The president specially gave him such a powerful fruit ability, but he used it very mediocrely. What about you, Ajin? Have you learned how to be domineering and shave? Ximu asked Ajin again. I have already learned armament haki and shave, but I am not very proficient in observation haki. Ajin said with some shame. Ximu nodded and didn't say anything more. In fact, the progress of both of them is not slow. Ximu will not measure them by his own standards. After all, Ajin and the others do not have a system. It has only been over a year since Klo ate the speed fruit. In such a short period of time, many people with special abilities have not even fully understood their own abilities, let alone developed them. I can use the 20x speed skillfully and my progress is pretty good. The fact that Ajin was able to learn the art of armed color and shaving also showed that his physical fitness had been greatly improved. Overall, Xi and Mu were quite satisfied. At least neither of them neglected their training. Next, the Flame Demon Guild held a high-level meeting. In addition to the President Ximu, the participants included Ajin, Kilo, Sarah, Yulat, Khalifa, Nami, and Kuina. The content of the meeting was mainly to prepare for entering the new world and rearrange personal duties. After meeting Akin and CLO, both Sarah and Eli were very nervous, fearing that their positions would be taken away from them. Especially Eli, when he was in the East Daxia Sea, he was Ajin's subordinate. Fortunately, the final result was a happy ending for everyone. First of all, the Flame Demon Bark will be the headquarters of the guild from now on, and its base in the East Daxia Sea will be downgraded to a branch. Then comes the personnel job assignment. Eli's position remains unchanged, he is still the head of the bounty department, but now he is the head of the headquarters. Ajin is the head of the mercenary department. There is currently no mercenary department in the headquarters, so Ajin needs to set it up from scratch. However, with his work experience in Donghai, this was not a difficult task for Ajin. The intelligence department was divided into two parts, the intelligence department and the intelligence department. Department 1 is responsible for information on Paradise, South Blue, and North Blue. Department 2 is responsible for information on New World, East Daxia Sea, and West Blue. The head of Department 1 is Sarah, and the head of Department 2 is CLO. In fact, among these three departments, XIMU values the intelligence department the most. The role of the bounty department and the mercenary department for XIMU is nothing more than making money and providing troops. XIMU had both of these things in abundance. He had more money than he could spend, and as for military strength, he believed more in his own strength. But the intelligence department is different, it's as if XIMU has many more eyes all over the world. Currently, the Flame Demon Guild has only set up its own intelligence contact points in the East Daxia Sea and Paradise, and has not yet involved the other three seas and the New World. So there are still many things that need Sarah and CLO to do, so XIMU divided the intelligence department into two so that both of them can be more relaxed. And it's not just the intelligence department, the bounty department and the mercenary department will also establish more branches across the sea to increase the number of hunters and expand the guild's business. With XIMU's current strength, he is enough to suppress the Jiki snake gods everywhere. In addition to these three departments, XIMU added a new department, Finance Department. The minister is 437 Nami. Hearing the appointment, Nami almost jumped up with excitement, but thinking that this was a meeting, she held back. In fact, she has always been in charge of the guild's money, but she just didn't have a clear-cut position. In addition to these ministers, XIMU also appointed Kuina as the guild's senior combatant, who also belongs to the guild's senior promotion department. Specialized in dealing with battles that hunters cannot resolve. This is also what Kuina had done in the East Daxia Sea, but after arriving at the Grand Line, he was no longer strong enough. But with her current advanced physical condition, XIMU believes she can do it well. Okay, in short, you all have important responsibilities, and there will be many things for you to do in the future. Strive to make the name of the Flame Demon Guild resound throughout the world. Keep working hard. XIMU encouraged at the end of the meeting. Yes. Everyone looked at him with burning eyes. After the meeting, the Flame Demon Guild issued a call for all hunters to return to their base as soon as possible. At this time, XIMU took the flying device off Shandy's vehicle and placed it on the Flame Demon's three-masted sailboat. Since this ship will be the headquarters of the guild in the future, I will definitely go to New World with XIMU. The flying device did not disappoint XIMU. Even such a huge island ship was transformed into a spaceship in an instant. You can fly to New World anytime. Chapter 93. 6 days later. A huge island ship was flying over a certain sea area in New World, with the emblem of the Flame Demon Guild painted on its sail. It is the headquarters of the Fire Demon Guild, the Fire Demon Bark. XIMU opened the full sea navigation map and controlled the flight direction of the island ship. He has decided that after entering the New World, he will temporarily set up his base next to the Kingdom of Dressrosa. Become a neighbor with Doflamingo. I just don't know if that guy will welcome it. XIMU curled his lips into a sneer. The flame bark sailed very slowly on the sea, but it was much faster in the air, and it reached Dressrosa on the same day it entered the New World. Azols. The island ship fell from the sky and landed on the sea not far from Dressrosa. The ship had a very deep draft, and even formed quite large waves that rolled around. It would be hard for such a big commotion to escape the Don Quixote family's attention. The news soon reached Doflamingo's ears. A huge island ship of the Flame Demon Guild flew from the sky and landed next to Dressrosa. That BD, what is he doing here again this time? Doflamingo's face looked very ugly. Soon he became angry and embarrassed again. Because he found that he was actually feeling fear in his heart. Afterwards, he took the initiative to go to the Fire Demon Bark, trying to find out Ximu's intentions. Inside the luxurious reception hall, Ximu sat on a sofa, as if he didn't see Doflamingo's gloomy expression, and said, "This is what happened. For the time being, the headquarters of the Flame Demon Guild will be parked next to Dressrosa. As for when they will leave, I am not sure now." As soon as he finished speaking, Ximu waved his hand, indicating that Doflamingo could leave. That gesture, as if shooing away a fly, made Doflamingo's face turn even darker. Just as he stood up, he heard Ximu say, "Gather the 6 devil fruits you owe me as soon as possible. There are only a few months left. If I don't get enough devil fruits when the time limit is up, you know the consequences." Doflamingo's expression became even uglier. He left the Balrog Bark without saying a word, suppressing his anger. After returning to the palace, he could no longer bear it, veins popped out on his forehead, and he shouted like crazy, "This damn BD! I must kill him! I must kill him!" Let's not talk about Ximu secretly parking the guild headquarters in the waters of Dressrosa. He, the king, took the initiative to ask for an audience, but Ximu didn't seem to be negotiating at all during the whole conversation. It was as if he was just informing him. Doflamingo felt like he had become that guy's subordinate. Although he was almost going crazy, he also knew that he couldn't afford to offend Ximu, so he could only swallow his anger. Soon, a woman in a maid outfit brought 3 devil fruits to the Flame Demon's 3-masted sailboat. And each box containing fruit is marked with its type and name. 1 animal, 2 paramecia. Like the 4 I got from Doflamingo before, their energy calendars are also quite ordinary. Ximu didn't find fault with this. It was not easy to find so many devil fruits. After all, devil fruits are still very rare. If you don't count the rewards from the system and the ones from Doflamingo, Ximu only got 3 devil fruits in total. Ding! The mission maid training is released. Completion reward, bat fruit, vampire form. The system suddenly issued a prompt at this time. Maid's training, change baby 5's personality to only accept Suifei's needs. After reading the mission introduction, Ximu turned his attention to the maid who gave him the devil fruit, Baby5. It is not easy to change her character. Due to her special experiences since childhood, she is unable to refuse anyone's request. But Ximu is quite confident. Having experienced the tasks of rebellion and third party, he has gained a lot of experience in changing women's minds. And the mission reward turned out to be a mythical beast vampire fruit, which surprised Ximu. In the future, this fruit was obtained by Red Earl Cadefield in Shuagu town. Of course, Ximu has not figured out whether the devil fruit rewarded by the system is from this world. But we will know when Ace goes to sea next year. If Ace didn't get the flame fruit, it would mean that the fruit the system rewarded him was from this world. Although Ximu knew that the vampire fruit was in the sleeping ancient town, she didn't know when it appeared there. He also thought about taking some time to go and take a look. But if Ace doesn't get the flame fruit next year, there will be no need to go to the sleeping ancient town. This means that the vampire fruit in the system reward is the one that the future Red Earl eats. After thinking about this, Ximu suddenly said to Baby5, "Are you willing to stay by my side and be my maid?" Hey! Hearing Ximu's words, Baby5 was stunned at first, then she held her face with both hands, her cheeks slightly red, and said, "Am I needed?" "Yes, I need you to stay with me." Ximu nodded and smiled. Even though he already knew Baby 5's personality, he still found it funny, but also cute, mainly because Baby-5 was beautiful. In that case, I'm willing. Baby-5 said without hesitation, feeling happy because someone needed her. Then he added, but I have to go back and tell the young master. Go back and tell Doflamingo that this is my request. I don't think he would dare to refuse. Ximu said. Yet. Baby-5 nodded vigorously, her cheeks became even redder. She felt that this man was so strong. This also meant that he really needed her. When Baby-5 returned to the palace and told Doflamingo that Ximu wanted her to be a maid, Doflamingo's face darkened at first, but soon he looked thoughtful. 0146021155 He remembered that Ximu had caused trouble for him last time because of Violet, and this time he was asking for Baby-5 again, and before that he had even boldly snatched away Big Mom's daughter. It seems that this guy likes beautiful women very much. Doflamingo was excited, thinking he had found Ximu's weakness. Everyone has weaknesses, and Ximu's weakness is lust. As long as there is a weakness, there is a way to deal with this guy. Phew. Doflamingo laughed. Instantly, he thought of a way to deal with Ximu by targeting this weakness. As a man, he knows best when men are most vulnerable. No matter how strong Ximu is, when doing that kind of thing, his body will be relaxed and not on guard. In this case, why not send a pretty subordinate to seduce him with his beauty, and then take the opportunity to assassinate Zimu? In fact, Baby-5 is a killer of the family. She has carried out many assassination missions and is also very beautiful. Now she is favored by Ximu and seems to be a good candidate. But Doflamingo knew her character and was not trustworthy at all. If we give her such an important task, the failure rate will be too high. And if I fail, Ximu will definitely not let me go. Therefore, the person who carries out the assassination mission must be absolutely loyal to himself, have certain strength, and most importantly, must be a beautiful woman. Coincidentally, there is such a person under Doflamingo's command, and that person is Monet, who ate the snow fruit. Doflamingo had no doubts about Monet's loyalty and was a very calm person. The more he thought about it, the more excited Doflamingo became. He felt that the possibility of success was very high. It's decided. If Ximu is not killed, Doflamingo is afraid that he will go crazy first. He woke up from his sleep countless nights, and every time he dreamed of Ximu stepping on his head. Chapter 94. Ximu looked at the two girls in front of him with a little surprise, Baby-5 in a maid outfit, and Monet with green hair and golden eyes. He just asked for one Baby-5, but Doflamingo gave him two. Is Doflamingo trying to please himself? Ximu couldn't help but think so, but immediately denied it. Given Doflamingo's pride and the fact that he hated himself so much, he would not have given Monet away on his own initiative just because of this. There must be other reasons. Ding! Mission Rebellion 4 released. Completion reward, S-level experience card, 100, *2. Rebellion 4, Monet is instructed by Doflamingo to wait for an opportunity to assassinate the host. Incite Monet to rebel, change his will, and make him loyal to the host. Ding! Mission Change of Faith is released. Completion reward, skill advancement card, *2. Transfer of affection, Monet is deeply in love with Doflamingo. Let them transfer this feeling to the host. The system issued 2 tasks in a row, both targeting Monet. Snort. Ximu snorted secretly. It turned out that Doflamingo was planning this. But on second thought, even though that guy had bad intentions, he still gave me 2 more tasks. Doflamingo had done something similar before, instigating Kaido to cause trouble for him, and as a result, he got the physical strengthening liquid, Big. Thinking about it this way, this guy actually made a significant contribution to the improvement of his strength. Ximu decided that when he kills Doflamingo 727 later, he will give him a quick death. Then, Ximu said to Monet, "Then you can stay." At this time, Monet had not yet undergone Luo's surgery, and his hands and legs remained the same as before. "Yes, because of the person," Yan Nai said quickly. In the next few days, both women behaved normally, including Monet, who took care of Ximu's food and daily life. Ximu was not afraid that she would poison him. With his perfected perception and hearing, he could not only predict the future, but also clearly sense a person's emotions. It would be impossible for Monet to poison himself while he was on guard. And Monet was obviously not that stupid. Knowing that Ximu was difficult to deal with, she had never thought of using such a stupid assassination method. She will follow the young master's instructions, use her body to seduce Ximu, and then look for an opportunity to take action. But you can't be too hasty to sacrifice yourself, as that would be too obvious and might expose your purpose. Almost half a month after arriving at the Flame Demon Guild's headquarters, Monet took the initiative to throw himself into Ximu's arms. Ximu also accepted it calmly. With the example of Khalifa, he believed that he could definitely win over Monet. On the first night they were together, Monet did not make a move because the time was not right. She wanted to wait until Ximu completely let down her guard before making a move. Because you only have one chance to strike. If she fails, not only will she die, but the young master will also be killed by Ximu. This is a consequence that Monet absolutely cannot bear. Now that all three colors of haki have been maxed out, Ximu is no longer as busy as before, so he took the time to teach the two-color haki and 6 styles to the coders. When Xi and Mu are working hard on their skills, they can also learn from each other. For Rokushiki, they can ask Khalifa, and for armament haki, they can ask Awaken. Ximu still had 5 skills that had not been perfected, so he was not really without anything to do. After spending a few days with Monet, Ximu found another opportunity and took BABY5 as well. Ximu just mentioned it casually, and she, who didn't know how to refuse, agreed immediately. But on the next day, Ximu also discovered that she had changed a lot. Even if Ximu didn't make any requests, she would occasionally blush when she saw Ximu, immersed in her own world, and no one knew what she was fantasizing about. This is obviously a good phenomenon. In addition, a happy event occurred. Garrett is pregnant. This is also Ximu's second child. The entire station celebrated, and all the hunters received large red envelopes. Send someone to deliver this letter to the Whitebeard pirates. Ximu handed a letter to Chloe. He had made a promise with Whitebeard to fight him again. And now that he had arrived in the new world, this matter naturally had to be arranged. And based on his understanding of Whitebeard, once the old guy knew that he was in the new world, he would definitely come looking for him. In this case, it would be better for Ximu to take the initiative to arrange a battle and choose the time and place. Otherwise it will seem like you are afraid of fighting. He said that if he fights Whitebeard again, he will definitely win. Yes, President. CLO nodded. Afterwards, Ximu also informed the World Economic News about the challenge to Whitebeard. This time, he will defeat Whitebeard, the world's strongest man, under the watchful eyes of the public, and take the title. When Morgans received the news, he was naturally very excited and started to publicize it immediately. Soon, the entire Grand Line was spreading the news of Ximu's duel with Whitebeard. The date was set for 1 month later, May 8, 1516 in the Haiwan calendar. The location is an uninhabited island dozens of nautical miles east of the Kingdom of Dressrosa. For a time, countless people were eagerly waiting. Training ground. Ximu is working on the Flying Stone, B. He has already raised the experience of Flying Stone, C, to the great perfection and consumed a skill advancement card, B, to upgrade it. Suddenly, the system prompt sounded. Ding! Mission Hero Saves Beauty 2 released, completion reward, physical strengthening fluid, medium. Hero saves the Beauty 2, Ein of Neo Marine will be killed by Marine Headquarters Vice Admiral Spider in Sicily town one day later. Rescue Ein. Ximu frowned. Ian is Tina's good friend. Even if there is no system mission, he will definitely go to rescue her now that he knows about it. He immediately removed the flying device from the fire demon's bark. After all, he was going to go against Marine this time, so it would be better to appear as Sandy. Then he opened the sea navigation map, found the town of Sicilisa, hardened himself into a fire phoenix and flew out of the base. The next day, Ian took several hundred Marines to the town of Sicily for repairs. Marine suddenly surrounded them, and during the battle, the fleet led by Ian was separated from the main force. As everyone was wolfing down their food, a Marine on guard duty on the seashore ran into the restaurant and said, "Lord An, 3 Marine warships have appeared on the sea. Everyone stop eating and prepare for battle." Hearing this, AI immediately shouted. 0146021116 Fila 1830111181. Although the Marines were reluctant to leave, they had no choice but to put down their tableware and quickly gather at the restaurant entrance. When they arrived at the port coast, Marines' warships had already arrived. Leading the team is Vice Admiral Anigamo of Marine Headquarters. "Just surrender, you can't beat me." The ghost spider with a face full of flesh shouted loudly. "Impossible, let's fight if you want." In gritted his teeth and pulled out a short sword. She knew that she was doomed to lose this battle, but she absolutely could not let down Teacher Zifa, because if she failed, she would die. Unfortunately, she had only eaten the retrograde fruit not long ago, so it had no effect on the domineering Grandmaster Ghost Spider. Just when the two sides were about to fight, brush! A black cat man suddenly appeared. The pair of golden eyes looked at Ghost Spider and said in a cold tone, "I'm sorry, lady, I'm here to protect you. Could you please leave now?" Chapter 95. Sandy. It's you. How dare you show up again? You won't be able to escape this time. Seeing the cat man in front of him, Ghost Spider was overjoyed and shouted loudly. "Marine is looking for this guy everywhere. I didn't expect it to appear in front of me. What a lucky guy. This guy killed the celestial dragons. If I can catch him, it will not only be a great achievement, but I can also gain the favor of the celestial dragons. Your future career will be extremely smooth. Don't want to leave? Then go to hell." Ximu sneered. Buzz. He clenched his fists, and the armament haki was attached to them. The arms, which were already covered with black hair, suddenly became darker in color. Whoosh! Immediately, Ximu moved like a ghost, silently. The last moment he was in front of Ghost Spider, the next moment, his figure appeared behind him. A punch hit the Ghost Spider's back. But Spider Demon is, after all, an elite lieutenant admiral of the Marine Headquarters. Not only has he mastered the 6 styles to an extremely high level, he also has the Grandmaster Dual Color Haki, and he reacted in time. Life returned. The hair on his back seemed to come alive, entwining with each other to form 6 arms. Each strand of hair and arm was also hardened by the armament haki, and rushed towards Ximu's attack. But as soon as they made contact, Ghost Spider's confident expression suddenly froze. He only felt a force so huge that he couldn't resist it at all. The 6 hair-like arms were instantly defeated, and the Japanese fist landed on the back of his hand. Bang! The Ghost Spider's body flew forward uncontrollably. While still in midair, Ripen's blood spurted out of his mouth. It flew for dozens of meters, and with another bang, it rushed into the beach. A huge pit with a diameter of more than 10 meters and a depth of more than 10 meters suddenly formed. The Ghost Spider at the bottom of the pit was already dead. There was a look of disbelief on that face full of flesh. Before he died, he was surprised as to why a fur tribe could be so powerful. Lieutenant General Ghost Spider. The Marines on the Marine side were suddenly horrified and their faces were filled with shock. This Shandy's strength is so strong. Defeated Vice Admiral Ghost Spider with one punch. Ian also looked at the cat man in front of him in surprise. She recognized the famous Sandy who killed the celestial dragons, but she didn't expect him to be so powerful. But why did he save himself? When several Marines ran to the bottom of the pit and pulled Ghost Spider out, they found that he was already dead, which made them even more horrified. He killed the Lieutenant General of the headquarters with one punch. What kind of strength does this guy have? Could it be the level of a general? All the Marines looked at Ximu with fear. While his eyes were filled with hatred, they also contained deep fear. Get lost! Ximu waved his hand and didn't bother with these soldiers. When the Marines heard this, although the hatred in their hearts did not diminish, they all breathed a sigh of relief. Then, under the command of Ghost Spider's deputy, they left with Ghost Spider's body, not daring to say a single harsh word, for fear that Ximu would change his mind and kill them all. Yahoo! Great! The Marine has retreated. The Neo-Marines cheered at this time. In fact, when they knew that Marine was coming, they were very nervous. Fortunately, such a strong man suddenly appeared to help. They couldn't help but look at Ximu in awe. Excuse me, why did you save me? Ian couldn't help but ask. Although he was very grateful to the cat man in front of him, the two of them were total strangers. It is really puzzling that he would suddenly kill the Vice Admiral of the Marine headquarters for himself. Ding! Mission Hero Saves Beauty 2 has been completed, and Physical Strengthening Fluid, Medium, has been obtained. I was also entrusted by someone to come and save you. Ximu smiled as he listened to the system prompt sound beside his ear. Immediately, his figure disappeared from the spot in an instant. Seeing that the cat man in front of him had disappeared, Ian couldn't help but stretch out his hand, as if he wanted to call out to him, but unfortunately the cat man had already left. Trusted by someone? Who asked him to save me? Ian thought to himself. She had a few good friends in the Marine, but now she has defected from the Marine with teacher Zifa, so logically they should no longer have any contact with her. Tina is his only best friend. Ian thinks that if Tina knew he was in danger, she would definitely save him. But then I thought it wasn't Tina. This Shandy is a wanted criminal, and he is a wanted criminal who killed the celestial dragons and is regarded as a thorn in the side of the world government. Tina should not have any intersection with this person. And there's no way Tina knew she was in danger. But apart from Tina, she really couldn't think of anyone else who would ask Sandy to save her. Ian was very confused. But I also know that now is not the time to think about these things. Although Marine has retreated, there is no guarantee that he will not come again. It is better to quickly reunite with teacher Zifa. Ximu returned to the headquarters and gave the physical strengthening fluid, medium, he had just obtained to Khalifa. Like Kuina, Khalifa was also shocked to find that his physical fitness improved dramatically after taking the medicine. Immediately, I felt extremely touched and happy. She was a spy sent by CP9 to monitor Ximu, but Ximu not only gave her such a precious space ring, now he even gave her such an amazing potion without any concealment. How could she not be moved by this? Khalifa feels that it is not difficult for him to defeat Lu Wenzu now. This has definitely reached a level she could never have imagined before. She never thought that one day her strength would surpass that of Lucci, who she once thought was a monster. Whenever Khalifa is happy, he likes to reward Ximu. That night, Ximu rested with Khalifa. Monet wanted to continue to develop his relationship with Ximu, but he didn't find a chance. Before giving the physical strengthening liquid, medium, to Khalifa, Ximu hesitated whether to give it to Gialit. 0. After all, there is the example of Doris. If Garrett takes this potion, even the baby in her belly will benefit from it. But Ximu finally gave it to Khalifa. Because Khalifa had been with him earlier, she was more qualified to get the bottle of physical strengthening liquid. He couldn't ignore Khalifa just because Garrett was pregnant. Ximu knew that Khalifa was actually very envious of Tina and Garrett because they could give birth to children for her openly. But the identity of Khalifa is not allowed. At least she can't give birth to Ximu's child before she gets rid of her identity as a CP9 agent. Ximu also told Khalifa that he should just confess directly to the world government. With his current strength, it would not be difficult to protect Khalifa. But Khalifa thought that the identity of CP9 agent would be of great help to Ximu. If the world government had ill intentions towards Ximu, Khalifa would most likely be notified first, so she refused. Anyway, I just can't have a child temporarily, there will be a chance in the future. Ximu did not object. He would not think highly of himself just because of his strength. After all, a world government that can rule the world for 800 years is unfathomable. Therefore, if Khalifa, who cares about him like this, has something good, Ximu will naturally think of her too. 0146021175 Philo 1832911521. Besides, Garrett's situation is different from Tina's. When Tina gave birth, her strength was relatively average, so Ximu wanted her to strengthen her physique so that she could give birth more smoothly, and strengthening her strength was just a byproduct. But Garrett is a coder of the Big Mom Pirates and the butter minister of the 10,000 nations. Her strength is extraordinary, and she has even eaten Paramecia's butter fruit. With her physique, there will be no unexpected events during childbirth. Chapter 96. Marine Headquarters, Malin Banta. When Zhang Guo learned that Ghost Spider was killed by Sandy, he was furious. At the same time, he was also very surprised. Although Sandy had previously killed Kelson, who was also a lieutenant general of the headquarters, Kelson's strength was far inferior to that of Ghost Spider. But even such a strong Ghost Spider was killed by Sandy with just one punch. Damn it, even if this guy's strength hasn't reached the general level, it's definitely not much different. Zhang Guo frowned. Obviously, the power of oil has been seriously underestimated. Killing Ghost Spider with one move is something that even the general candidate of the headquarters cannot do. Afterwards, Zhang Guo raised Shandy's bounty by 1 billion berries, reaching a staggering 3 billion. In the past, D's bounty was actually somewhat unworthy of its reputation. After all, on the sea, bounty is commensurate with strength, and this is a consensus among the 017. But Sandy did not show strength worth 2 billion berries. He only received such a high bounty because he was bold enough to kill the celestial dragon. And now these 3 billion berries are the real deal. Marine Fleet Admiral Sengoku acknowledged Sandy's strength. Soon, another half a month passed. The date of the second decisive battle between Ximu and Whitebeard is getting closer. Many people who wanted to watch the battle live had already arrived at the battle site in advance. Early in the morning, Monet woke up from bed, put on his clothes calmly, and walked out of Ximu's room. When she was alone, a look of shame and anger appeared on her pretty face. Because she found that the young master, including herself, thought things were too simple. Yes, Ximu did seem to be off guard when he did that, but it would be difficult for Monet to assassinate Ximu at that time. That man is like a bull. When he felt that he had a chance to assassinate, Monet found that he had no strength at all. Thinking of this, Monet's cheeks couldn't help but blush. In that state, there was no way she could kill Ximu, who was as strong as a monster. After a long while, Monet, who was thinking about the assassination method, suddenly turned redder. She felt that she would have a chance only if she and Baby5 served that guy together at night. While he and Baby. Then you will have the chance to take action. But Ximu never made such a request. Did she have to take the initiative to offer to serve him together with Baby5? This is so shameful. Even with Monet's calmness, he was too embarrassed to speak. But in order to complete the task, we have to do this. Ximu took some time to visit Sky Island and took away some gold. The rapid expansion of the Flame Demon Guild requires a large amount of financial support. After spending a few days with Connie and Loki on Angel Island, he returned to the base. When a mountain of gold piled up in front of the cotters, Nami rushed over with shining eyes, Enogen and others were also shocked. This gold is worth at least tens of billions of pearls. But then he became excited. With these funds, there would be no obstacles to the development and growth of the guild. All the cotters are ready to work hard. After that, everyone was very busy, learning Haki and Six styles, as well as expanding the guild. Not only these cotters, but even ordinary hunters were busy hunting everywhere. Because Ximu stored all 3 devil fruits obtained from Doflamingo in the finance department. 2 months later, the 3 hunters with the best performance will be able to obtain devil fruits. Of course, those hunters who had eaten devil fruits before were not included. Therefore, during this period of time, there were almost no hunters to be seen in the base, as they were all outside catching bounty-seeking criminals. Ximu also worked hard on his stone-throwing skill every day. His stone-throwing, B, was almost at the Grandmaster level, and his throwing accuracy and technique had also improved a lot. The move Purgatory Impermanence Flying Knife is even more bizarre and unpredictable. May 8, an uninhabited island east of Dressrosa. There are many sailboats around the island, gathering more than 10 million people. The number of people is more than double the last time Ximu fought Whitebeard. The Whitebeard pirates have arrived, someone suddenly shouted. On the sea south of the uninhabited island, a fleet consisting of dozens of ships with the flag of the Whitebeard pirates appeared. The Flame Demon Guild's ship has also arrived, someone else shouted. To the west of the uninhabited island, the main ship of the Flame Demon Guild, the Flame Demon Horn, also appeared in everyone's sight. The 2 parties appeared almost at the same time as if they had agreed beforehand. In fact, this is indeed the case. Ximu left the exact time of the battle on the letter of challenge to Whitebeard, May 8, 8 am. Whoosh! When the ships of both sides approached the uninhabited island, Ximu and Whitebeard jumped onto the island one after another. At the same time, the video Den Den Mushi that had been arranged by the World Economic News around the island had already started working. Countless people along the entire Grand Line were watching this second decisive battle between the 2. Everyone knows that this battle will definitely be more exciting than the last one. Gulala! Little boy, this time Lao Zi will definitely take off your head. Whitebeard laughed. New World is the territory of pirates. Without Marine by his side this time, he can finally let go and fight Ximu to avenge his sons. Putting aside the hatred between him and Ximu, Whitebeard actually admires Ximu quite a bit. At least Ximu kept his word and said he would fight me again, so he arranged this battle again. Old man, after the last fight, I said I would definitely beat you next time. Ximu raised the corners of his mouth and smiled confidently, so, I will definitely win this time. Stop talking nonsense. Let's fight. Whitebeard shouted, and then raised the naginata in his hand. A white vibration light ball also condensed on the blade. Ha 4.1. Ximu also instantly transformed into a dark golden flame demon giant, with a flame demon broadsword several dozen meters long condensed in his hand. The next moment. Boom! Both of them swung their swords at the same time. The blades were still several meters apart when the 2 attacks collided violently. The black and red air currents formed by Conqueror's domineering power intersect and run in all directions. Click! There were cracks in the air around Whitebeard. But there was not a single crack that could penetrate Ximu's attack and reach the big Ximu. The second decisive battle between the 2 sides officially begins. From the beginning, it was extremely intense. After just a few minutes, the entire uninhabited island was already covered with cracks. The ground was scraped off. Countless people were watching the battle with their eyes wide open in front of the video Den Den Mushi, extremely excited. Chapter 97. The World Ocean, Cake Island. Looking at Ximu on the projection screen, Big Mom looked gloomy. At that time, Ximu had snatched her daughter away in front of everyone. After she came to her senses, she wanted to kill Ximu immediately. But she was dissuaded by her eldest son Perospero, because Ximu's strength was not inferior to hers. Even if you fight, there won't be any good results. Not only will it fail to restore the lost face, but it will also cause the Big Mom pirates to face the same situation as the Whitebeard pirates before. When Whitebeard was fighting Ximu, they attacked Whitebeard's territory. If she also went to fight Ximu, how could the Whitebeard pirates not retaliate when they encountered such an opportunity? Therefore, Big Mom held back his anger and did not go looking for Ximu. But she also remembered this hatred. In fact, what made Big Mom the most angry was not that Ximu took Garrett away, but that he told him the cause of the nun's death. Now, whenever I think of Big Mom, I feel uncomfortable in my stomach, my appetite decreases, and I can't even eat my favorite sweets. This makes Big Mom, who loves to enjoy desserts, hate Ximu very much. Boom! The flame demon sword and the Naginata clash again. The wind is blasting. Immediately. Boom boom boom. The two men's weapons 19 kept hitting each other. Under Conqueror's entanglement, although the blades of both parties did not directly touch and collide, the power was even stronger, and deafening roars continued to erupt. This sword fight lasted for a whole day. But no audience felt bored, instead, they became more and more interested the more they watched. Each of these strikes may seem ordinary, but from the fact that every time the two of them collided, cracks would appear on the ground, one could tell that their power was extremely terrifying. The sun disappears below the horizon and night falls. Purgatory 8 trigrams blockade. Suddenly, hundreds of thick dark gold chains shot out from the chest of Ximu's huge 100-meter-tall fire demon body. Phew! Those chains drilled into the ground, and wherever they passed, the ground melted into liquid. Wow! Dozens of chains sprang out from all directions around Whitebeard and attacked him. Seeing this, Whitebeard waved his arm. Then he saw cracks all around him, and all the dark gold chains that attacked him were shattered into pieces. However, wow! At this time, the remaining dozens of dark gold chains sprang out from the ground again, and were about to wrap around Whitebeard's body in the blink of an eye. Snort! Whitebeard snorted coldly, and then an astonishing armed color-domineering aura burst out from his body. All the chains that tried to approach him were turned into golden flames and returned to their original appearance. This move is an advanced application of armed color, domineering and aggressive. Kid, stop using your little tricks and fight again! Whitebeard shouted loudly. Then, the two sides started a fierce knife fight again. Whitebeard pirates, the entire ship of the Vidic. All the captains of Whitebeard's group have gathered. This battle was to avenge Xiao Ziyai and other brothers who were killed by Ximu. Their father had been looking forward to it, and so should they. But at this moment, none of the captains showed any joy on their faces, all of them looked heavy. Since receiving Ximu's letter of challenge, the captains have been worried. It was different from the first time they went to seek revenge on Ximu. At that time, although they knew that Ximu was very powerful, they thought that their father could easily win. But this time, they knew that Ximu's strength was not inferior to his father's. Previously, I fought that monster Kaido to a draw. Therefore, if Dad wants to decide the winner with Ximu, the fight will definitely take a long time. And this is exactly what they are worried about. Given Dad's physical condition, can he continue to fight for such a long time? After all, Dad is already so old and still has many hidden injuries. And what about Ximu? You are only in your 20s, and you are full of energy. All the captains knew that it would be difficult for their fathers to win this battle. You might even lose. If the result is really like that, they can't even imagine the consequences. Will the Big Mom pirates and the 100 Beasts pirates miss such a good opportunity to grab territory? But this battle is an inevitable one. Now that they have received Ximu's challenge, the Whitebeard pirates must accept the challenge. This is the most annoying part. We know that we can't fight this battle, but we have to fight it. Flame Horn. All the cotters of the Flame Demon Guild also came with Ximu. Watching the battle between Ximu and Whitebeard, Ajin and the others were all extremely excited, and they yearned for greater strength in their hearts. Monet and Baby5 were also there. At this moment, Baby 5's cheeks were flushed as she looked at Ximu in the battle, and her eyes were covered with mist. Monet looked a little heavy-hearted. She was doubting whether she could really kill such a monster. But for some reason, when she felt that the hope of assassination was slim, she did not feel anxious at all. This surprised Monet secretly, and he seemed to have become calmer than before. On the uninhabited island, the battle between Ximu and Whitebeard continues, and the two are evenly matched. Soon it lasted 5 days. At this moment, the battle situation suddenly changed. Almost everyone could see that Whitebeard was gradually losing ground. Marine Headquarters, Malin Banta. A spacious viewing room. Seeing this scene, Zhang Guo sighed with some emotion. After all, their generation is still old. Compared with young and strong top warriors like Ximu, Whitebeard's physical recovery ability can no longer keep up. At the side, Garp also had a rare serious expression and forgot to put the senbei in his hand into his mouth. He also felt that as he got older, there was a clear gap in his strength compared to when he was young. Especially in terms of recovery ability, the old body cannot compare with the young at all. Seeing that Whitebeard, an opponent of the same generation as them, was about to be defeated by a young kid, both Sengoku and Garp felt a sense of grief. For a moment, both of them looked a little lonely. But soon, their expressions perked up again. After all, they were all strong men who had experienced countless dangers. How could they be so upset by such a small thing? Sengoku, if Whitebeard loses or even dies, New World will probably be in chaos. Garp said in a deep voice. Zhang Guo nodded. Their marine is already in a weak position in the New World. Once the New World is in chaos, it will be even more difficult for marine to gain a foothold in that sea area. Just when Zhang Guo was feeling a little annoyed, a small hand holding a piece of potato chips was handed to him. Zhang Guo looked up and saw a cute little girl with pink hair. In her other hand, she was holding a bag of potato chips and her eyes were looking at him cutely. "Grandpa, I'll treat you to some potato chips." The little girl opened her mouth and said crisply. Obviously, the little guy also saw that Zhang Guo was upset. Zhang Guo was stunned for a moment, then a smile appeared on his face. He reached out and gently touched the little girl's head, then took the potato chips and ate them. "I don't know whose child this is, but he is so cute." This time, the battle between Ximu and Whitebeard spread widely, and many people in Marine expressed their desire to watch it. Zhang Guo also felt that this was a good opportunity for them to understand the strength of the top level, so he ordered the battle to be broadcast live in the largest viewing room. All interested Marine personnel are welcome to come and see, and family members can also be brought along. At this time, Tina came over from behind, stretched out her hands and picked up the little girl, gently touched the little girl's forehead with her finger, and said with a smile, "You said you wanted to see Daddy, why are you running around? Don't disturb Fleet Admiral and Vice Admiral Garp. This little girl is Ximu's daughter, Tula's." Hearing this, Zhang Guo and Garp were both stunned, and then they looked at Doris. It turned out that this little girl was the daughter of Ximu. Zhang Guo knew that Tina and Ximu had a daughter, but he had never seen her. Garp had also heard about this matter. After all, it was widely spread in the Marines, and he was quite familiar with Tina, but he had never seen her daughter. "I heard that he is just over 1 year old," which should be the age for him to learn to walk. But looking at the child in front of me, he walks very steadily and speaks very clearly. He doesn't look like a 1-year-old child at all. They were both a little surprised, but then they remembered that the child's father was that monster Ximu, and they didn't find it strange anymore. Zhang Guo's eyes lit up at this time. With Ximu's talent, his daughter should have inherited some of it. This is definitely a good seedling. Chapter 98. Click. Whitebeard held the knife in one hand and punched out with the other. The shock wave spread outward along his arm, creating cracks wherever it passed, and attacked Ximu. Fire Fist. Ximu also threw a punch, and a golden spiral flame column shot out, colliding with Whitebeard's shock wave. Boom! Sparks and smoke filled the air. Cover the entire area of several hundred meters around the two people. Ding ding ding! Before the smoke had dispersed, the sound of metal colliding could be heard from inside. The strong wind caused by the battle between the two quickly blew away all the smoke. Everyone stared with wide eyes, only to see Ximu with his blade drawn, engaging in a close-range sword fight with Whitebeard holding a naginata. Neither of them used Conqueror's haki to entangle their swords, but only used their armament haki to harden their blades and sparred with each other in swordsmanship. In terms of swordsmanship alone, Ximu is obviously stronger, but Whitebeard's years of combat experience are not useless. With the cooperation of his observation haki, he can always block Ximu's attacks. But anyone with a discerning eye could see that compared to the beginning of the battle, Whitebeard's attack frequency had obviously dropped, and he was more passively defending. Demon Island. It seems that old fellow Whitebeard is going to lose this time. Kaido held the wine gourd in one hand, his drunken face full of depression. As Whitebeard's old rival, he had always wanted to defeat Whitebeard, but he could never do it. Now he had to watch someone else defeat the opponent he had always wanted to defeat. Gulp! Gulp! Kaido raised the wine gourd and drank all the wine in it in one breath. The depression on his face disappeared and he looked at Ximu in the picture with burning eyes. Whitebeard is old, but he has a better opponent now. Holy Land, Merry Joy, Pangu City. Hall of Rites. Even the 5 elders were watching this battle. Such a young kid has such a strong strength. He is really gifted. The environment martial god Mazician looked at Ximu in the projection and said with some sighs. Well, his talent is indeed outstanding, but that's the upper limit. The scientific defense god of war, Satan, said, as long as he is not the one who has the ability of that fruit, no matter how strong he is just a Whitebeard next day. Hearing this, several other martial gods nodded in agreement. The strength Ximu is showing now is about the same as Whitebeard when he was young. Despite his power, Hui was not taken seriously by them. Because in the end, Ximu will grow old like Whitebeard and disappear in the long river of history. In the past 800 years, there have been countless strong men like this. The battle lasted until the 7th day. Whitebeard's condition was getting worse and worse. He could only resist and passively endure Ximu's attacks. At this moment, he only felt severe pain all over his body, as if his strength had been drained away, and his whole body was covered in cold sweat. Damn it, I'm Whitebeard! Whitebeard roared in anger. It turned out that without realizing it, his health had deteriorated to this extent. Whoosh! The flame demon giant transformed by Ximu, holding the flame demon sword in both hands, with a universal white beard. He also saw that Whitebeard was exhausted, but he had no intention of holding back. Although he and Whitebeard are enemies, the strong deserve respect. If I hold back now, it would be a real humiliation to Whitebeard. Moreover, he had been fighting with Whitebeard for 7 days, fighting with all his might. Not only did Whitebeard's body almost collapse, but he also felt that most of his strength was depleted. Therefore, he has no right to hold back. Just when Ximu was ready to defeat Whitebeard once and for all, a powerful conqueror's aura suddenly attacked him. But this domineering aura does not come from Whitebeard. And it wasn't just him that was targeted, even Whitebeard was included. Feeling the sudden pressure on their bodies, Xi and Whitebeard released conquerors at the same time. Boom! 3 top conquerors collide. At the same time, a figure suddenly appeared not far from Ziquan and Whitebeard. The man had red hair, 1 arm, and a rapier hanging from his waist. It was Luffy's guide, the red-haired Shanks. Immediately, the 3 of them stopped releasing their domineering aura at the same time. "Red-haired kid, what are you doing here?" Whitebeard asked with a puzzled look on his face. Shanks looked at Ximu and suddenly said, "Please give me some face this time and let the fight end here." He knew that whether this battle could be ended depended on Ximu having the upper hand. Before Ximu could speak, Whitebeard said angrily, "Little red-haired brat, how dare you interfere with my battle?" This time, he and Ximu had a fair one-on-one fight, and it was also a battle of revenge for his sons. He would never allow anyone to interfere. Even if he died in battle in the end. "Sorry, I have to stop this battle from going on, otherwise the new world will be in chaos, and I don't know how many civilians will be affected," Shanks said. Once Whitebeard is defeated or killed in battle, a melee is inevitable among the pirate forces for fame and fortune. This would result in the deaths of many civilians, and he could not stand by and watch such a tragedy happen. Hearing this, Whitebeard frowned and said nothing. Ximu couldn't help but frown. "You two are both top warriors on the sea, with broad minds. I hope you can have some mercy on those ordinary people." Shanks added, "If you still want to fight, then fight me." Ding! Release the task King's Qualification, Completion Reward, Shadow Fruit. King's Qualification, compete with red-haired Shanks in Conqueror's Dominance and win. Hearing the system's prompt, Ximu did not hesitate and turned to Whitebeard and said, "Old man, I don't think there is any need to continue this battle, because I will definitely win, and I think you should have the courage to admit defeat, right?" He also didn't want his fight with Whitebeard to affect civilians. Snort! Whitebeard snorted coldly. Although he was unwilling to admit it, his current strength was indeed inferior to Ximu. However, he was still unwilling to admit defeat and said, "Little ghost, if it were 20 years ago, Lao Zi would have chopped off your head long ago." Then he changed the subject, "But, this time, I really lost." Hearing this, Shanks immediately smiled. But Ximu said to Shanks, "I gave you a favor, you should give me a favor in return. Your conqueror seems to be very strong, so I want to compete with you to see who is stronger." "Okay, let's have a competition." Shanks did not refuse the request. In fact, he was also excited to see the prey. How could he refuse the opportunity to compete with a strong man like Ximu? What's more, it was a competition of conquerors, which he was best at. Chapter 99. Buzz. The next moment, the 2 powerful conquerors collided with each other. Nourish. The black and red air currents were rushing around like lightning. Then, the domineering aura of both parties continued to grow, and around the 2 people, conquerors enveloped them like an air shield. The edge of the air mask is the contact point between the 2 conquerors. Sometimes he moved towards Shanks, sometimes he moved towards Ximu, and they were in a stalemate. Shanks' conquerors are really powerful. Ximu's mouth curled up, no wonder he could control the Marine Admiral in the future. However, although the red-haired conquerors are very strong, I will definitely be the winner today. Immediately, Ximu unleashed his conqueror's power with all his strength. Feeling the pressure suddenly increase, Shanks frowned and also released conquerors with all his strength. Boom! 2 air shields formed by conquerors, more resistant to collision. The aftermath also affected Whitebeard, who was not far away. Feeling the pressure on his body, Whitebeard was secretly shocked. Until this moment, he really felt that he was old. Because these 2 little devils conquerors are more fishy than his. XIMU-073 and Shanks suddenly started competing in Conquerors, which made the audience a little confused. Most people don't even know Shanks. Although Shanks' current bounty is not low, he has not yet ascended the throne of 4 emperors, so he is not as famous as he will be in the future. The audience only saw the red-haired man suddenly rush into the battlefield, and then the battle between XIMU and Whitebeard stopped. Marine Headquarters, Malin Banta. Damn redhead. As soon as Garp saw Shanks, an annoyed look appeared on his face. It was because of this guy's temptation that Luffy now talks about becoming a pirate all the time. Red Hair's Conquerors is so strong. He can compete with XIMU. Zhang Guo was surprised, and then frowned, because this meant that Red Hair's strength was equally strong. Since the Red Hair pirates have always been relatively low-key, he didn't know before that Red Hair Shanks was so powerful. Unlike XIMU, the bounty hunter, Red Hair is a pirate, an enemy of their marine. Another top-notch warrior has appeared among the pirates, which is not good news for them, the marine. Demon Island. Oh la 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 la. Interesting, there is actually such a guy. Kaido laughed. He was already very happy to have XIMU as an opponent, and now another top expert has appeared. Pangu City, Hall of Power. Is this the son of Gringo who was stranded outside, said the god of law and war voculi. It's him. Saint Peter, the god of agriculture and martial arts, nodded. So he is the son of Gringo. No wonder there are such strong conquerors. The god of finance, Nasujiro Sei, said at this time. This conquerors' competition lasted for several minutes. Then the contacts of the gas shield began to move towards Shanks. This time, no matter how Shanks fought back, he never touched the contact again. Knowing that his conquerors was not as good as XIMU's, Shanks said frankly, I lost. As soon as the words fell, the two of them stopped Conqueror's release at the same time. Ding! Mission King's qualification has been completed, and Shadow Fruit has been obtained. The system prompt sounded. Brush! XIMU's back burst out with golden wings, flew into the air, and shouted, From now on, the title of the strongest man in the world will be transferred to me. If anyone is not convinced, Kong Guan will challenge me. 11. Immediately, it flew towards the flame demon horn. Facing XIMU's words, Whitebeard did not refute anything, which immediately caused an uproar among the audience. It turns out that Whitebeard has admitted defeat. The great pirate Whitebeard lost in this one-on-one battle. The strongest man in the world, from now on, is the flame demon XIMU. Balrog! 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 Throughout the Grand Line, XIMU's, CBBF, fans all shouted excitedly. In the end, even the audience who were not XIMU fans started shouting. Because XIMU is a bounty hunter, and Whitebeard is a pirate. Both of them are at the pinnacle of their respective fields. Now that the bounty hunters have won, does this mean that the great pirate era is being curbed? How can ordinary people not be excited? After XIMU returned to the ship, the cotters were all excited when they saw him. Sarah was the first to speak. President, you are so awesome. She just felt that her mind and spirit seemed to be sucked away by the man in front of her. In this life, there would be no room for any other man in her heart. Sarah knew that she liked the president. But unlike those ordinary little girls, she doesn't care much about a man's appearance, money, or status. What attracted her most about XIMU was his strong strength. What's more, XIMU is well-rounded, whether it's her strength or her appearance which she doesn't care much about, she is excellent in all aspects. Even if you search the whole world for such a man, there is probably only one. Compared to the jubilation of the Flame Demon Guild, the Whitebeard pirates seemed a little gloomy. Dad actually lost. The captain of the 7th Division, Lakia, muttered to himself with a gloomy expression. Hearing this, all the captains lowered their heads with grim expressions. Scholars have always been the strongest in their minds. Even the deceased One Piece Roger is not as powerful as their own father in their hearts. Dad is the source of their pride. But now, Biao Zheng has lost its title of world number 1. They couldn't help but feel as if their backbone had been taken away. Seeing the captains so depressed, Marco hurriedly said, "Everyone, although Dad lost, the result is actually much better than we expected, isn't it?" When the captains heard this, they all raised their heads. Yes, they had actually guessed a long time ago that Dad might lose this time, but at least now Dad was still sober and still had the strength to fight. The Beasts pirates and the Big Mom pirates probably wouldn't dare to provoke them. Seeing that everyone had recovered a lot, Marco sighed inwardly. The invincible Dad lost, and he actually felt very bad inside. But he knew that as the captain of the first squadron, he could not be discouraged at times like this, otherwise it would affect everyone in the group. Not far away, Teach, with a simple and honest look on his face, couldn't help but clench his fists. Seeing Ximu defeat his idolized father Whitebeard, and the red-haired man who had fought with him before, and now he is so powerful, Chunin can't help but feel extremely anxious. Where is the dark fruit? Ximu and others returned to the base on the Flame Demon Horn. Although defeating Whitebeard was an exciting thing, under Ximu's instructions, everyone just celebrated for a while and then started to get busy with their own things. Chapter 100. Dressrosa, Royal Palace. Young Master, I haven't found a chance to assassinate Ximu yet. Monet reported with guilt on his pretty face. Unexpectedly, Doflamingo said, I called you here this time not to hold you accountable, but to ask you to temporarily stop the assassination mission. Hearing this, he couldn't help but look surprised. The young master clearly looked like he wanted to kill Ximu, so why did he suddenly ask her to stop the mission? Although I really want to kill that BD, he is indeed very powerful, and your assassination failure rate is too high. Doflamingo explained. He sent Monet to assassinate Ximu purely on impulse out of national wrath. After watching Ximu's fight with Whitebeard, Doflamingo became more sober and felt that although Monet might succeed in assassinating him, the probability of failure was also high. If he fails, Ximu will definitely kill him as the main messenger. Thinking of this, Tulangmingarong Gongjo couldn't sleep or eat. You continue to lurk around that guy, and I will notify you when there is a need for another assassination mission. Doflamingo said again. The plan to assassinate Ximu was not completely abandoned, it was just temporarily shelved. If Ximu goes too far and really has to fight to the death, then Monet will come in handy. Yes, young master. Monet nodded, secretly relieved in her heart. She didn't know how to assassinate Ximu. Baby 5-2. He no longer needs to carry out that shameful method. Ding! The content of the mission Subversion 4 has been detected to have changed. The mission is now updated and re-released. Ding! Issued the mission Rebellion 4. Complete reward. S-level experience card, 100, *2. Rebellion 4. Monet is instructed by Doflamingo to lurk beside the host, waiting for Doflamingo to give the order and then assassinate the host as a trump card to counter the host at the critical moment. Incite Monet to rebel, change his will, and make him loyal to the host. After reading the mission introduction, Ximu sneered. Apparently, Doflamingo was scared and temporarily gave up on assassinating him. He immediately put it behind his mind and continued to practice his stone-flying skills. In his eyes, Doflamingo is nothing but a pile of bones in a grave. Oh, no, Ximu decided to cremate him, so not even his bones would be left. Ximu has given the shadow fruit obtained by completing the king's qualification to Khalifa. Although Mariah's strength is weak, the shadow fruit is still very powerful, and Khalifa also likes this ability. Ximu continued to practice at the base for a few days, and then the system sounded a reminder. Ding! Issued the task intercept complete the reward, report the energy advancement card A, *2. Intercept: 3 days later, Nico Robin will be chased by CP7 agents in the port city of Rapeseed in the Kingdom of Alabasta. She will be rescued by Crocodile and will then join Baroque Works. He intercepted Nico Robin, rescued her before Crocodile, and recruited her under his command. Ding! Posted the mission A Drop of Grace. Completion reward, Devil Fruit Recovery, 1 time. A drop of water. A drop of water should be repaid with a spring, let alone the life-saving grace. Each time the host saves Nico Robin, he will receive a reward. This is a long-term task, only when the enemy's main target is Nico Robin. It's actually about Robin's mission. Ximu was overjoyed. In order to find Robin, he has been asking Sarah to keep an eye on the Baroque Works, where Machida is still lurking. Unexpectedly, the system directly issued him a task related to Robin and also knew Robin's location. Ximu looked at the quest reward for A Drop of Grace again. Devil Fruit Recovery: kill a special ability user and the system will recover the Devil Fruit. This reward only has 1 recovery opportunity. Ximu's eyes lit up, and those Devil Fruits with top abilities instantly flashed through his mind. We can decide which fruit to retrieve later, but for now, let's save Robin first. Thinking of this, Ximu felt a little excited. When his ship sank and he fell into the water, he was floating alone on the sea, his heart was filled with boundless fear. It can really be described as crying out to the heavens and the earth for help, but no one answered. He thought he was dead at that time. I didn't expect that when I was on the verge of death, I would be saved by Robin. The gratitude I felt was indescribable. Ximu swore in his heart at that time that he must repay his lifesaver. So, even though he didn't recognize Robin at that time, he remembered the beautiful face firmly after a quick glance. 3 days later. Alabasta Kingdom, Port City, Rapeseed Flowers. Hoo-hoo! Robin, wearing a half-cloak, ran in a circle with a hurried breath. Behind him, several CP7 agents were trying their best to catch up. Suddenly, a figure appeared and blocked Robin's way. Seeing this, several CP7 agents were delighted, but when they saw the appearance of the person coming, their faces suddenly changed. Because that person was actually the one who killed the celestial dragons, Shandy. Black Cat Sandy, why did you stop me? Robin said with a gloomy face while calming her breathing. But the cat man in front of her smiled and said to her, "Don't worry, I'm not an enemy. I came here to save you." Save me? Robin wondered, but he never let down his guard. Judging from the newspapers, Black Cat Man Sandy's actions can be considered that of a good person, but a person who loves others will not trust someone he meets for the first time. Let me deal with these guys, then we can talk slowly. Ximu, who had transformed into Sandy, said with a smile. Whoosh! Immediately his figure disappeared from the spot. Click, click, click. There were several sounds of bones breaking and shattering. Then Robin saw all the agents collapse to the ground. At this time, Ximu appeared in front of her again. Ding! Complete the long-term task A Drop of Grace once and obtain Devil Fruit Recovery, 1 time. A system prompt rang in Ximu's ears. What a fast speed! Robin was shocked and subconsciously crossed his hands in front of him, ready to use the power of the Hana fruit at any time. Let's leave here first. Ximu said again, and then turned and left. 0. Robin's eyes flickered, and he didn't want to follow Ximu away, but he also knew that his speed was far inferior to Ximu's, and there was no possibility of escape, so he could only follow. But after they had walked only a few dozen meters, they saw yellow sand all around them. Ximu's eyes were cold. Then, the yellow sand condensed into a man, who was Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. You can only leave if you leave Nico Robin. Crocodile looked at Ximu and said in a deep voice. He received information that Nico Robin's trace was found here in the Rapeseed Flowers, so he hurried over. 0146021222 Philo 2334711591. The search for Pluton has become difficult, and Nico Robin, the Grand Master's archaeological talent, might be able to help. Ximu was anxious to reminisce with Robin and was too lazy to talk nonsense with Crocodile. Whoosh! With a step, he instantly appeared in front of Crocodile. Before Crocodile could react, he raised his armament-colored hardened leg and kicked Crocodile on the head. Bang! Crocodile only felt a pain in his head, then flew sideways, and his consciousness fell into darkness. Ximu didn't kill him. Keeping him might be used to complete the task later, with the same function as Doflamingo. Ding! Complete the long-term task A Drop of Grace once and obtain the Skill Advancement card, S. Hearing the system prompt again, Ximu felt happy, as he actually completed a task. Let's go! Ximu smiled at Robin again. This time, Robin followed Ximu's footsteps without hesitation, his heart trembling. Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, was defeated by this cat man in an instant. The strength of this black cat man Sandy is too strong. Chapter 101. A small sloop of war was suspended in the clouds at an altitude of 10,000 meters. Ximu looked at the familiar pretty face in front of her, feeling happy. Robin stood on the deck of the spaceship, suppressing his inner surprise, and asked Ximu, "What do you want to talk to me about?" Ximu did not reply, but directly reached out and tore off the ever-changing mask on his face, and his figure and appearance suddenly returned to their original appearance. So, the black cat warrior Sandy disappeared, and instead, a handsome, smiling young man appeared in front of Robin. Flame Demon Ximu. Robin's lips slightly opened in surprise, and her heart was shocked beyond words. The black cat warrior Sandy is actually the transformed fire demon Ximu. That means that the same man was responsible for killing the celestial dragons and defeating Whitebeard. Surprised, Robin's heart was moved. Why would such a big secret be revealed in front of her? Trust her so much? It's obviously just the first time we met. Is he really the person he rescued in the East Daxia Sea? Why, you don't remember me? I'm the one who fell into the water when the ship sank and almost drowned. Ximu said with a smile. Although it was only the second time they met, he had absolute trust in Robin. He believed that Robin would not spread the secret that the flame demon Zemo was Sandy. It's really you. Robin was even more surprised and couldn't help but cover his cherry lips with his hand. The flame demon Ximu, who has now replaced Whitebeard and become the strongest man in the world, is actually the drowning man she once saved in the East Daxia Sea. How is this possible? How did this man become so powerful in just a few years? Yes, that's me. Ximu nodded. He knew that it was unbelievable for anyone to see how far he had come from being an ordinary person. After a long time, Robin's agitated emotions finally calmed down a little, but it was still difficult to calm down completely. You know, the moment you rescued me, I secretly vowed to repay you. Now I finally have the chance. Ximu said with a smile on her face. But I'm wanted by the world government, and unlike ordinary bounty criminals, the world government will never let me go. Aren't you afraid of getting yourself into trouble? Robin said. I even dare to kill Tianlong people, do you think I care about this? Ximu replied. After a brief thought, he handed the 1,000 changes in his hand to Robin and said, however, I really don't want to fall out with the world government at the moment, so I give you this mask. When you wear it, you can change your appearance and no one will recognize your identity in the future. If you give it to me, what will you do with yourself? Are you no longer using the identity of Black Cat Man Sandy? Robin asked in surprise. Ximu can transform because of a mask. It can change a person's appearance, so it goes without saying that this mask must be extremely valuable. Now he wants to give it to her. I'll borrow it from you when the time comes. Ximu said with a smile, and then handed the mask to Robin. Robin hesitated, but seeing Ximu's determined look, he reached out and took it, looking at the strange mask curiously. She knew she shouldn't accept it, but she really needed the mask. With this, she doesn't have to live in fear every day. In addition to the mask, I also have a gift for you. Ximu said again, and then took out the historical text photos he had taken and handed them to Robin. Robin took the photo and looked at it. He was immediately surprised and said, "It's the historical text." "Yes, this is just a photo. If you want to see the original, I can take you there." Ximu nodded. Suddenly someone was so nice to him, which made Robin, who was used to intrigues, very uncomfortable, but he still said, "Thank you, I like it very much." "I should be the one to say thank you." Ximu chuckled, "If you hadn't saved me, I would have become the excrement of fish and shrimps and would probably have been recycled by the seaweed." Hearing this, Robin also smiled slightly. "I would like to invite you to join the Flame Demon Guild. Don't worry, I will protect you in the future and will never let anyone hurt you again. I promise you." Ximu said solemnly. These words touched Robin's already frozen heart. Although he didn't really believe in Ximu, Robin certainly couldn't refuse such a powerful backer and agreed to join the Flame Demon Guild. The interception mission was also successfully completed. "How should I use this? Can I just wear it on my face?" Robin asked while holding the 1,000 changes. Seeing this, Ximu reached out and took it, then personally put it on Robin's face. This intimate action made Robin feel uncomfortable and his body was a little tense. Just imagine the way you want to change yourself in your mind. Even your smell and clothing can be disguised and changed. Ximu said after putting on the mask. Robin nodded, and immediately her height and appearance changed rapidly. Originally Robin was over 1.80 meters tall, almost 1.9 meters tall, and had a very tall build. After the transformation, he was a head shorter than before, and his appearance was very ordinary. Robin touched her new body curiously, and was amazed. There was no trace of her original body at all. Even she herself couldn't recognize it, let alone outsiders. Ximu said somewhat disappointedly, "You still look better the way you are now." Robin smiled lightly and said nothing. Although she herself did not like the changes now, at least she could walk outside openly from now on. On the way back to the Flame Demon Guild's headquarters, Robin finished reading the 2 historical texts and was very shocked. Because these 2 historical texts actually recorded the whereabouts of 2 ancient weapons. For a moment, Robin even suspected that the reason Ximu saved her and treated her so well was because he wanted to get the 2 ancient weapons through her. But in the following 1.3, Ximu did not even ask a single question about the content of the historical text. After bringing Robin back to the base, Ximu let him serve as a secretary, just like Khalifa. As his appearance had changed greatly and there were countless people with the same name in the whole sea, Ximu did not let Robin change his name, but only hid his last name. After spending a few days together, Khalifa became very curious about the new secretary Robin. Not only because Robin would become the secretary of the President Ximu as soon as she joined the Flame Demon Guild, but also because she could see that Ximu's unusual concern for this woman was not like the attitude he showed towards an ordinary subordinate. But after doubting, Khalifa felt that he was overthinking. After all, such an ordinary-looking woman should not be able to attract Ximu. Chapter 102. Now that Robin has been found, there is no need for Mikhaida to continue lurking in the Baroque Works Society. Ximu has asked Sarah to recall her to the guild. For the next 2 months, Ximu practiced in the base. After he mastered the Flying Stone, B, to perfection, he used a skill upgrade card, A, to upgrade it to an A-level skill, and then continued to practice. This method that Ximu first used to kill people is now extremely powerful. With the help of his observation haki, he could hit hundreds of enemies within a radius of dozens of kilometers. With this one move alone, Ximu can become one of the best snipers in the world. During the training, Doflamingo also sent the remaining 3 devil fruits over. One of them is Paramecia's silver fruit, which has similar abilities to the gold fruit, except that one controls silver and the other controls gold. The other 2 are both animal type, the bug fruit, ladybug form, and the dog fruit, hyena form. Ximu still handed everything over to Nami's finance department, asking her to distribute it to hunters with good performance. There are currently 12 capable hunters in the guild. 7 of them ate the devil fruits given by Ximu, and the remaining 5 were recruited. Among these 12 people, 4 are already gold hunters at level 23, the highest level among the guild's hunters. Their strength is almost the same as that of pirates with a bounty of 40 to 50 million berries. Ding! Publish the task The Guest of Honor. Complete reward, B-level experience card, max, *2. The Guest of Honor. 2 days later, the courtesan Kojiki Hiri from Wano country served wine for the first time, and the host won the first place. The system prompt sounded. After 2 months of silence, there is finally a mission. It just so happens that iron block and paper painting are still at the entry level, so I will use these 2 experience cards to upgrade to the great perfection. Ximu said secretly. Wano country, the flower capital. Thousands of people gathered outside the gate of the geisha house. But no matter whether they were men or women, everyone's eyes were focused on the courtesan Xiao Ziyi behind the fence on the 2nd floor, and their eyes were full of admiration. Oh my god! Lady Xiao Ziyi is so dazzling, I'm going to faint. These words, which sounded like those of a pervert, came from the mouth of a woman. From this we can see how beautiful the courtesan Xiao Ziyi is. She is already popular with both men and women. Everyone, today is the first time that the courtesan Kojiki will serve wine. Only the person who bids the highest price will be qualified. On the 2nd floor of the geisha house, next to Kojiki, a middle-aged man in a kimono shouted. As soon as he finished speaking, he heard someone shouting, "I'll pay 1,000 gold coins." Oh my god! 1,000 gold! Suddenly, the whole audience was in an uproar. 1,000 gold! How much food can you buy? Enough for an average family to eat for a lifetime. But 1,000 gold was just the beginning. Soon, the price was raised to 5,000 gold. Xiao Ziyi looked at the people bidding downstairs, her beautiful eyes revealing indifference and disgust. Because none of these people are good people. Ever since Wano country was ruled by Orokai and Kaido, the people have fallen into despair. They are lucky to be able to survive. Countless people have turned into bones. The reason why those people who are bidding downstairs are still so rich is that they work for Kaido and Orokai, or they do those bad things of cheating and deceiving, and get the dirty money. If it wasn't for raising funds for a future uprising, Xiao Ziyi wouldn't even want to look at these people. At this time, the price was also called out to 6,000 gold. This huge price finally calmed down those lustful people. Although they were very unwilling, they did not continue to follow. After all, it was just a wine serving. I could only look but not touch, and I couldn't really do anything to Xiao Ziyi. Anyway, there would be opportunities in the future. Just when the man who bid 6,000 gold was feeling very proud, a package was suddenly dropped in front of the geisha house. Yet, a pile of gold scattered out. So much gold! This must be worth tens of thousands of gold at least. Everyone present stared greedily at the gold on the ground, with golden light reflected in their eyes. Then, he turned his attention to the person who threw out the gold. The person who threw the gold was a handsome young man in his 20s. Everyone was secretly shocked. The bid is so high. Just for Xiao Ziyi's wine serving, who on earth is this person? This young man who spends money lavishly is naturally Ximu. That should be enough. Ximu said calmly. Enough, enough, the middle-aged man upstairs said hurriedly, his face full of ecstasy. He thought it would be good to get a few thousand gold this time, but who knew someone would offer such a high price? As expected, you are Master Xiao Ziyi. It seems that I have underestimated the beauty of Lady Xiao Ziyi and the lethality it can cause to men. Hearing this, the man who offered 6,000 gold coins had a sullen look on his face. He glanced at Ximu for a few times but still didn't dare to say anything threatening. Although he didn't know Ximu, he was obviously not an ordinary person because he could take out so much gold. Xiao Ziyi also looked at Ximu curiously. He was so young, yet he could come up with so much gold. Who was he? She had seen information about the senior officials under Orakai and the cadres of the Beast's pirates from Denjiro, and was very sure that this man was not among them. Could it be Kaido's newly recruited subordinate? In the closed country of Wano, even the newspaper of the World Economic News cannot be delivered, so the people here do not know Ximu. At this time, a woman in kimono walked out of the art hall, came to Ximu, and said respectfully, "Sir, please come in, and the Warren Xiao Ziyi will serve you wine later." Just as Ximu was about to enter the art gallery, a voice suddenly came, "Wait a minute." Ximu glanced sideways and saw a tall, fat man wearing sunglasses and with a yellow braid on the back of his head walking towards them. Beside him, there were more than a dozen people, who seemed to be his subordinates. "My uncle Quinn hasn't made a bid yet," the fat man said arrogantly. Ximu looked at Quinn indifferently and said, "You want to compete with me?" Although it was just an ordinary question, for some reason, Quinn got goosebumps all over his body and his heart was suddenly startled when he heard it. Immediately, he quickly raised his sunglasses and looked at Ximu sincerely. His mouth opened, his eyeballs bulged out, and cold sweat flowed down his face like a waterfall. In just a moment, the ground was wet. "Flame, fire demon!" Quinn stammered and screamed. That voice sounded like a girl surrounded by three big men. How so? How could this guy appear in Wano country? "Shut up and get out of here. Pretend you didn't see me and don't tell Kaido, or I'll kill you," Ximu said coldly. Quinn stood at attention immediately and said urgently, "Yes." Whoosh! The next moment, his fat body disappeared from the spot at an astonishing speed. At this time, Quinn's men also recognized Ximu. As pirates of the Beast's pirates, they were different from the people of Wano country. They could read the newspapers whenever they wanted. So, how could you not know the famous flame demon Ximu? They even watched the live broadcast of the battle where Ximu defeated Whitebeard. When they thought of Ximu's terrifying fighting power, they trembled all over, their faces covered with cold sweat, and then they all ran after Quinn in fear. Chapter 103. Everyone present was dumbfounded. That was Kaido's big boss, Plague Queen. How could I be so afraid of this young man? Who the hell is he? Everyone was extremely curious. "Sir, please come in," the kimono woman who led Ximu said with a surprised look on her face. His behavior has also become more thoughtful and careful. Ximu walked into the geisha house and came to a room. After a while, exquisite wine and food were served to her. Then, Xiao Ziyi, dressed in a gorgeous dress, also walked into the room with a shamisen instrument in her hand. After greeting Ximu, she began to play. She is really beautiful, no wonder she can attract so many people. Ximu drank a glass of wine and thought to himself. While playing the song, Xiao Ziyi secretly looked at Ximu, trying to guess his identity. I had thought he was Kaido's newly recruited subordinate, but seeing Quinn's horrified look, it seemed that was not the case. But among Orakai's men, there is no one who can scare Quinn so much, so this person should not be from Wano Kuni. It's a foreigner. Thinking of this, Xiao Ziyi noticed that the style of clothes this man was wearing was also different from Wano Kuni's. In another room of the geisha house, the owner of this geisha house, now known as Kyo's hero, Denjiro, formerly one of the 9 red scabbards, is drinking alone. Although it was Her Royal Highness the Princess's own request to raise funds in this way, he still felt as if his heart was being cut by a knife when he asked the princess to serve him wine. He felt very sorry for his deceased master, Lord Odin. So he didn't even go to the bidding scene because he was afraid he wouldn't be able to control himself. At this time, the middle-aged man who was beside Xiao Ziyi walked in and reported happily, "Boss Kuang Si Lang, the bidding has ended. The customer with the highest bid has offered more than 30,000 gold. More than 30,000 gold." Denjiro's hand holding the wine glass froze, his face full of surprise, and he immediately asked, "Who is it? How could he come up with so much money?" "I don't know him either, but Lord Qin, the big boss under Lord Kaido, also came at the time and seemed to be very afraid of that man," the middle-aged man reported. Hearing this, Chuan Si-eyed Zigong frowned. Who on earth could actually scare Plague Queen? Chen couldn't help but worry about the princess. With his reputation as Kyoshiro boss in Wano Kuni, most people would give him face and not dare to do anything rash. But now the person who offered more than 30,000 gold might not give him face. Princess Hiri is so beautiful, what if? Thinking of this, Chuanjiro could no longer sit still. He stood up and asked his men to take him to the room where Ximu was. At this time, Xiao Ziyi also stopped playing and was serving Ximu meal. Ding! Mission: the guest of honor has been completed, and you have obtained B-level experience card, max, *2. The system prompt sounded. Ximu's mouth curved up, the mission was accomplished, and he could leave Wano Kuni. But before that, you can enjoy it first, after all, you have spent money. Ximu is in a good mood now, because these 2 B-level experience cards, max, are enough to save him about 4 hours. Knock knock. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. The next moment, Chuanjiro pushed the door open and walked in. Seeing Xiao Ziyi dressed neatly, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief and quickly said to Ximu with a smile, "Guest, I am the boss here, Kuang Shiro, welcome. Come here often to have fun in the future." "Well, this place is pretty good, the food is delicious and the people are pretty, she is worthy of being the Warren." Ximu looked at Xiao Ziyi and said with a smile. Xiao Ziyi smiled and said, "You are also very handsome, my guest." Although this was meant as a compliment, it was also the truth in her heart. In terms of looks alone, Ximu was one of the 10 most handsome men she had ever seen. "May I know your name, sir?" Denjiro asked at this time. "Just call me Ximu." Ximu said. "Then I will call you Mr. Ximu," Denjiro said with a smile. Seeing that Ximu didn't seem to want to hurt the princess, he prepared to leave first. Although he was very curious about Ximu's identity, he might offend people if he continued to ask. At this moment, the middle-aged man under his command walked in with a samurai wearing a blue kimono and a sword at his waist. When the blue-clad warrior saw Denjiro, he said, "Master Kuasiro, the general heard that Master Kojiki started serving wine, so he sent me to pick him up and serve at the banquet at the general's residence." Xiao Ziyi and Denjiro's expressions both changed slightly, but soon returned to normal. Because they had anticipated this long ago, and this was part of their plan. After becoming the Warren, collecting funds for the uprising was just a side job for Kojiki. Her main purpose was to get close to Orikai and find a way to deal with him and Kaido. "Please wait a moment, I'll go change my clothes." Xiao Ziyi stood up and prepared to take the blood bag that Denjiro had prepared for her. Once the snake becomes too aggressive, at the critical moment, she will pretend to deliberately anger the snake, and then Denjiro will kill her. Faking her own death to escape was something she and Chuanxi had planned beforehand. Ding! Mission Foothold 4 released, Completion Reward, Instance Gate, System Module. Footprint 4, now that you have come to the new world, how can you not have your own territory? Please, host, seize Wano Kuni as your first territory. The system prompt sounded. The door to the copy. Ximu was puzzled by the reward of the task and immediately checked the reward introduction. Dungeon door, system module installed on the system, it can open a space door to other world at any time. Go to other worlds. Ximu was excited. At this time, Xiao Ziyai smiled apologetically at Ximu and was about to leave. But she heard Ximu say to her, "You are not allowed to leave, I haven't finished my drink yet." In fact, Ximu had no intention of stopping Xiao Ziyai. After all, he had completed his mission and he didn't really like Xiao Ziyai that much. But who made the system suddenly release the task? If you want to capture Wei no Kuni, you must kill the snake and drive away Kaido. Let's start with the big snake. Xiao Ziyai was stunned. Didn't this man hear it? Was it the big snake who invited her? Kyushiro then said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Ximu, due to the general's invitation, Xiao Ziyai can no longer accompany you, and I can return all the money you paid." In fact, Denjiro is not such an easy person to talk to. For revenge, even Her Royal Highness the Princess had to drink with him. How could he give up those tens of thousands of gold easily? But since he can scare Quinn, it is obvious that this person is not an ordinary person, so it is better not to offend him. "Since I've already paid, you belong to me at least until I finish my wine, right?" Ximu bowed to Xiao Ziyai. Chapter 104. Xiao Ziyai was stunned. This foreigner seemed to not take the big snake seriously at all. Is it because I just arrived in Wei no Kuni and I don't know the status of Orokai in this country? On the side, the blue warrior heard Ximu's words and immediately shouted angrily, "Who are you? How dare you disobey the general? Don't you want to live?" Ximu turned around and said, "Go back and tell Dashi that Miss Xiao Ziyai is here with me and won't go anywhere. Tell him to use whatever tricks he wants. I'll take them all. Court death." The blue warrior was furious and reached out to grab the hilt of the knife. However, just as he was about to draw his sword, he found that his body was suddenly out of control. No matter how hard he tried, his arm remained motionless. "Damn it, what the hell is going on?" The blue-clad warrior was sweating profusely, looking at Ximu with fear in his eyes. What on earth had this man done to him? Is this witchcraft? Suddenly, Ximu raised his right hand, then extended his index finger and poked the blue-clad warrior in the air. Immediately, a visible energy force was seen rushing through the blue-clothed warrior's shoulder. With a whoosh, a hole was pierced. Blood spurted out instantly. "Ah!" The blue warrior screamed in pain and his body shook violently. But even so, his body still couldn't move. At this moment, the blue-clad warrior's face was filled with fear, and he looked at Ximu as if he were looking at an evil ghost. "You are so arrogant. I'll teach you a lesson," Ximu said coldly. If this guy hadn't been needed to lure the snake over so he wouldn't have to go find it himself, the flying finger pistol wouldn't have pierced his shoulder, but his throat. When Ximu withdrew his gaze, the blue warrior's body was finally able to move and he collapsed to the ground. But soon, the fear in his heart seemed to turn into physical strength. The blue-clad warrior supported his body and crawled out of the geisha house, not daring to look back or even glance at Ximu. Xiao Ziyai looked at Ximu with her beautiful eyes in shock. How dare she attack the snake's men? A drop of cold sweat also slid down Denjiro's forehead, because he was not sure he could avoid the attack just launched by Ximu. It's really too fast. "Master Ximu, please leave now," Xiao Ziyai said in an urgent tone. Although this was the first time she met Ximu, she had a good impression of him just because he dared to attack Dashi's people. Ximu's strength seems to be quite strong, and Dashi has thousands of subordinates. An enemy of that size cannot be resisted by one person. Unless she has a strength as strong as her father. But Mr. Ximu is still so young that it is obviously impossible for him to have it. But Ximu didn't take Xiao Zi's words seriously, and said calmly, "I'll continue drinking, and you continue playing music. The blue warrior brought Ximu's words back to the general's mansion with injuries, and the snake became furious after hearing it. Since the destruction of the Kojiki family, no one in Wano Kuni dared to go against his wishes. Even Kaido would give him some face. Now someone dares to challenge him. Soon, hundreds of samurai from the patrol team and ninjas from the Onue Banshu, gathered by Orakai, headed towards the arts embassy. When they arrived at the entrance of the geisha house, Dashi got off the sedan chair and shouted, "Surround this place and don't let anyone go." Just as his men were about to take action, they saw a young man walking out of the geisha house, followed by Kojiki and Kyo's hero. "Lord Orakai, it's him." The blue-clothed warrior pointed at Ximu quickly, fear uncontrollably showing on his face. However, whoosh! The next moment, his throat was shot through by the Daochi. The blue warrior opened his eyes wide and covered his bleeding neck with both hands, but he could not stop it. At the last moment of his life, he saw Ximu's indifferent face, and he couldn't help but regret it very much. If he had known earlier, he would have run away directly. "Kill him now!" Seeing Ximu dare to kill his men in front of him, Dashi was so angry that he gasped and shouted angrily. But before his men could make a move, they saw Ximu's arm turned into a residual shadow. Sniff sniff! In the blink of an eye, hundreds of energy streams shot out from his index finger, and all of them hit their targets accurately. Each energy stream pierced through a person's throat. Hundreds of living people turned into hundreds of corpses just like that. Even the elite ninjas of the Onue Banshu are no exception. Only the big snake was left standing there. The big snake opened its mouth and eyes wide, and its nose was running with fear. It said fiercely, "How dare you, how dare you!" I wanted to say a few words to intimidate Ximu, but after saying the beginning a few times, looking at Ximu's cold eyes, I was still too scared to say it out loud. Ximu moved his fingers and prepared to send him on his way. Seeing this, the snake hurriedly said, "Wait, you can't kill me, I am the general, the controller of Wano Kuni, I can give you anything you want. Women, money? You can have as much as you want, as long as you don't kill me." Xiao Ziyai and Denjiro were still shocked by Ximu's powerful strength. When they heard Orakai say this, hatred welled up in their eyes. This BD is not worthy of calling himself the general of Wano Kuni. He is simply tarnishing the name of Wano Kuni. Whoosh! Ximu didn't listen to his nagging, and shot out another stream of energy from his index finger, directly piercing the snake's head. Plop! The body of the big snake fell to the ground. Kojiki and Denjiro looked at this scene in shock. The snake is dead. So easily, she was killed by this man named Ximu. Denjiro came back to his senses and couldn't help but frown and asked, "Mr. Ximu, who are you? Why did you come to Wano Kuni? You killed Wano Kuni's general just to fight for Xiao Ziyai? This is obviously not your purpose." Ximu smiled lightly and said directly, "Wano Kuni is a good place, I like it, so from now on this place is my territory. So that's why, you've got your eyes on Wano Kuni. Excuse me, although Orakai is Wano Kuni's general, the one who really calls the shots here is Kaido of the Beasts." Denjiro suddenly realized. In fact, if he just wanted to kill the snake, he would have had countless chances. But the key to retaking Wano Kuni is not Orakai, but Kaido. If you can't defeat that monster, killing the snake will have no effect at all. It will just be a different person to manage Wano Kuni, but you still can't escape Kaido's control. Since I took action to seize Wano Kuni, I naturally knew that this is Kaido's territory. Ximu's expression remained calm. It just so happens that last time that guy caused trouble for me, I didn't get enough of the fight, so this time I'll just take it as revenge. Chapter 105. Lord Ximu, have you ever fought with Kaido? Xiao Ziyai asked in surprise. Well, we fought once before, but the winner was not decided. Ximu said. Hearing this, Xiao Ziyi and Chuanjiro looked at Ximu in surprise, doubting what he said. Although Ximu showed extremely strong strength just now, he is still so young after all. Can he fight Kaido, that monster, on equal terms? How is this possible? Faced with the suspicion in the two people's eyes, Ximu had no intention of explaining, but looked at the body of the snake. He didn't forget that this guy was a user of the mythical beast Yamata no Orokai, and was confined to the 8-jo district. Ximu released his own observation haki, and indeed he could sense that there was still a sound coming from the snake's corpse. This guy is indeed not dead yet, he is just pretending to be dead. Phew! Golden flames gushed out from Ximu's hands and attacked the big snake. In an instant, the snake's corpse turned into a fireball and began to roll, trying to put out the flames on its body. Damn it! Why don't you let me go? The snake screamed, Kyoshiro, kill that guy for me. At the last moment of his life, the only person he could ask for help was Denjiro, but he didn't know that the latter wanted to skin him alive. Orokai is not dead yet. Xiao Ziyi and Denjiro were shocked. This guy's head was shot through. Soon, the big snake was completely silent and its body turned into ashes. This time it was really dead. Although the Yamata no Orokai fruit gives the snake the ability to revive after death, there is a prerequisite, which is that there must be a corpse. Ximu hesitated for a moment, but decided not to use the only chance to recycle the devil fruit on this mythical beast fruit that could revive people. Quinn was afraid of being held accountable by Ximu, so he did not report his discovery to Kaido. But not long after Ximu killed the big snake, Kaido still got the news. However, he only knew that the big snake was killed, but he didn't know that it was Ximu who did it. Although in Kaido's eyes, Orokai is just a flag used to control Wano Kuni and is insignificant. But the killing of the snake also shows that a change has occurred within Wano Kuni. In order not to affect weapons production, Kaido sent Jack the Drow to Wano Kuni to deal with the matter. When Jack saw Ximu in the geisha house, his expression of horror was not much different from Quinn's. Go and ask Kaido to come over. Doesn't he want to fight with me? I came here specially to fight him today. Ximu said to Jack in a calm voice. Xiao Ziyi beside him couldn't help but clench her jade hands when she heard it. This young Mr. Ximu actually wants to fight Kaido. Jack was stunned for a moment, then quickly nodded and said, I understand, I'll notify Governor Kaido right away. Then he quickly left the geisha house. Walking outside the geisha house, Jack breathed a sigh of relief, then hurriedly contacted Kaido using Den Den Mushi. At this time, Kaido was drinking on a Nagashima. After learning that it was Ximu who killed the snake and that he had to fight with him, he was overjoyed and immediately transformed into a blue dragon and flew towards Wano Kuni. Lord Ximu, do you really want to fight Kaido? His strength is at a monster level. Xiao Ziyi reminded. Until this moment, she still didn't believe Ximu had the strength to fight Kaido. After all, even her father was defeated. She felt that Ximu might be too young and ignorant of the immensity of heaven and earth. This was simply courting death. Denjiro just watched coldly from the side. He doesn't have any good feelings towards Ximu, who covets Wano Kuni. Now that he wants to die, he will naturally not tremble. Unexpectedly, Ximu chuckled and said, what you should consider now is how to help me control Wano Kuni, Princess Hiri, after I drive Kaido away. You. Sakura opened her lips slightly, her face full of surprise. This foreigner actually knew his true identity. Chuanjiro frowned and stared at Ximu. He now believed that Ximu was not fighting Kaido on impulse, after all, even the princess's identity had been discovered. Apparently, Ximu had long coveted Wano Kuni and had done some research beforehand. Just as Chuanjiro was about to say something, he heard Ximu suddenly say, that guy is here. Soon, his figure disappeared in the geisha house. Xiao Ziyi and Chuanjiro looked at each other and ran out quickly, only to see a pair of golden wings growing from Ximu's back, floating in the air and sleeping. 0, please give me flowers. Opposite him was a gigantic green dragon. It was none other than their archenemy, the captain of the beast's pirates, Kaido Mamoso. Oh la 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 la! Little boy, Lao Zi was just about to find you for a fight, and you actually come here on your own. Kaido laughed. During this period, he couldn't help but feel itchy whenever he thought of the battle in which Ximu defeated Whitebeard. It seems that I came at the right time. Ximu also laughed, and then changed the subject. However, this time I am not here to spar with you, but to defeat you. The Flame Demon Guild has entered the New World, but it does not yet have its own territory. I think Wano Kuni is a good place. Hearing Ximu's words, Kaido not get angry, but laughs loudly, oh la 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 la. Interesting. Kid, if you have the ability to defeat Lao Zi, Wano Kuni can be yours. 0. As soon as the words fell, the expressions of the two men quickly became serious. The next moment. Buzz. The conquerors' haki of both sides collided with each other, and black and red air currents filled and intertwined in the sky above Wano Kuni. Ximu had no intention of changing the battlefield. This battle with Kaido will take place in Wano Kuni. Although Wano Kuni will be his territory in the future, the retainers of the Kojiki family and the people of Wano Kuni will definitely not be so peaceful. They will still be thinking about the Kojiki family. Therefore, Ximu let these people see his own strength clearly. Let them watch me defeat Kaido. In that case, these people would not dare to disobey Kaido, and they would be even less likely to disobey me. Anyway, there are many empty places in Wano Kuni, so it won't cause too much damage. Bad Wind. Fire Fist. Kaido and Ximu's attacks were released at the same time. The collision between the sharp wind blades and the blazing flame columns produced a deafening roar. This huge noise also alarmed the people of Hwaju, and they all looked up in horror. Since Kaido sometimes flies around in the sky above the Flower City when he gets drunk, almost everyone in Wano Kuni knows him. What makes them curious is the person who fights Kaido. Who is this person? How dare you fight Kaido? Chapter 106. Clang. Sizzle. Ximu held the Kingdom of Heaven in his hand and violently clashed with Kaido's dragon horn. The two fought fiercely in the sky above the Flower City. The people below were excited and hoped that this powerful man in the sky could defeat Kaido. In that case, maybe they would have a chance to escape from their current hellish life. Seeing Ximu really fighting Kaido to a draw, Xiao Zi's pretty face was filled with disbelief. This young Mr. Ximu actually has the strength to fight Kaido. This is so surprising. Denjiro, who was standing beside him, had a similar expression. Afterwards, Ximu and Kaido fought in the air for nearly an hour, and then landed in the wilderness outside Hwaju and started a ground battle. Seeing this, many people in Hwaju rushed out, not wanting to miss the battle. Especially those samurai who are hiding among the people and have the Kojiki family's 717 clan in their hearts, they want to find an opportunity to see if it is possible to kill Kaido. As long as Kaido can be killed, Wano Kuni will be able to restore its former peace and tranquility. Kojiki and Denjiro were also among them. In the past, people would have been extremely excited to see the courtesan lady Xiao Ziyi, but at this moment, no one paid any attention to Xiao Ziyi at all. Everyone's attention is focused on the battle between Ximu and Kaido. Thunderous 8 trigrams. The huge mace in Kaido's hand was wrapped with purple lightning and Conqueror's haki, and it rushed towards Ximu. Whoosh! Ximu took silent steps and appeared in front of Kaido in the blink of an eye as if teleporting. Taking advantage of the forward momentum, the heaven wrapped in the two-color haki rushed towards Kaido. Boom! Weapons collide. A huge sound like morning bells and evening drums spread out. Immediately afterwards, the two men continued to attack each other fiercely, and the sound of metal clashing continued. The Wano Kuni people who were watching from a distance could only occasionally see their figures emerge. Even a strong man like Denjiro found that he could not keep up with the speed of the two. Not to mention keeping up with his body, he couldn't even keep up with his eyes. Cold sweat broke out on Denjiro's forehead. At this moment, he realized how ridiculous his previous thoughts were. He actually dreamed of driving away all those monsters. But this also shocked him even more. After all, Ximu was much younger than him, and he could actually fight so fiercely with Kaido. Who is this man? As time went by, more and more people arrived, including the other main characters of the 9 Red Scabbards who stayed in Wano Kuni, Ashiradaji, Kapikawamatsu, and Kikunishuke. Although they hadn't seen each other for more than 10 years, the three of them recognized each other immediately. However, since Denjiro's appearance had changed drastically and Kojiki had grown up, the three of them did not recognize them. The three of them just nodded slightly to each other, and then their attention was focused on the battle between Ximu and Kaido, all with burning eyes, waiting for the opportunity. But this wait lasted for 3 days. Ximu and Kaido's physical strength seemed inexhaustible, and their fighting power was so strong that they were dumbfounded. The third world, leading to Naraku. Kaido, in human beast form, suddenly leaped into the air, the mace in his hand spinning violently, smashing down at the 100-meter-high flame demon giant from top to bottom. Ximu held the dark gold flame demon sword in his hand and blocked Kaido's attack with a backhand flick. Purgatory 8 trigrams blockade. Dozens of thick dark gold chains emerged from the chest of the fire demon giant, interweaving into a cage that covered Kaido completely. Golden blazing flames flowed out from the body of the fire demon giant along the chains, transforming the inner cage into 10 fireballs as big as the Emperor's. And in the center of the fireball was Kaido, who was entangled and roasted. Hateful. Even though Kaido had thick skin and flesh, he was still in great pain from the burns. He roared in anger and swung his mace repeatedly to attack the king's chain. When he escaped from the cage, he was completely black, as if he had just come out of a coal mine. Little devil! Kaido roared, raised the mace again and rushed towards Ximu. The giant flaming demon Ximu transformed into shook his arm and raised his sword to fight. This time fighting Kaido, he has nothing to fear. Unlike the last time, he relied on the Emperor Experience card to temporarily gain power, which was limited in time. In terms of overall strength, although Ximu is still at the 4 Emperors level, he definitely has the advantage in this level. Because both his Haki and Devil Fruit abilities have reached the Great Perfection level, and his physique has also reached the top level, without any shortcomings. Even the 4 Emperors can't do this. For example, Kaido, in terms of physique and Devil Fruit development, he is not inferior to Ximu, but he is slightly inferior in Haki. Although this slight difference is difficult to be reflected in attack power, once a long-term war of attrition is carried out, the disadvantages will appear. On the 7th day of the battle, Kaido's physical strength was obviously depleted. Facing Ximu's attacks, he gradually became exhausted, which made him angry. After all, no matter who he fights with, his physical strength has always been his advantage. But no matter how angry he is, it is still not as good as it used to be, and the result will not change. Facing Ximu's attacks, he found it increasingly difficult. After another collision of weapons, Kaido was knocked out. The flame giant took a step forward, quickly caught up with Kaido, and slashed out with his sword again. In a hurry, Kaido instantly transformed into a blue dragon. Flame clouds appeared on the dragon's claws. With a fulcrum, he stopped his body. Then he twisted his body and avoided Xifon's attack. But at this point, defeat is inevitable. His physical strength has been consumed to a critical point. For more than an hour afterwards, Kaido didn't even have the chance to attack and could only defend. Seeing Kaido still holding on, Ximu was merciless, even hoping that Kaido could hold on to the end, so that he could kill this guy and reclaim the blue dragon fruit. Although Kaido was reckless, he was not a fool. He knew that if he continued to fight like this, he might really die here today. Seeing Ximu was about to attack again, he hurriedly said, "Wait, kid, Lao Zi has given up." "Humph! You're still so arrogant even after admitting defeat." Ximu snorted coldly and chopped at him again. Kaido dodged hastily, and then his face turned extremely ugly. He suppressed his anger, spoke more sincerely, and gritted his teeth and said, "I lose this time, Wano Kuni is yours." Ding! Mission Foothold 4 has been completed, and Dungeon Door, System Module, has been obtained. The system prompt sounded. Ximu then stopped attacking. Although his strength is stronger than Kaido, it is also limited. In fact, he didn't have much strength left. With his current strength, although he could defeat the 4 emperors, it would be basically impossible for him to kill them, unless they did not escape. Otherwise, he would be powerless to stop it. So it's better to quit while you're ahead, the mission has been accomplished anyway. Moreover, he was itching to study the dungeon gate and didn't want to waste any more time on Kaido. Other world. I don't know what kind of world it is.